Chapter 780, The Resentment Deep Within. Time was passing day by day. The giant tortoise received instructions from Bailey Yanhong. With the fastest speed, it headed towards the advanced civilization Star Void Realm. It was also the home of Bailey Yanhong in Shenjingzihan, the place where countless heavenly pride demons and strong people resided. Above the giant tortoise, rushing through the spatial rift was indistinguishable from day and night, and the outside world was always pitch black. But the luxurious buildings came with their own lighting. Yunxi, the women, sat together and chatted when they had enough sleep. At first Morongchinga was still in a high-strung manner. Yunxi invited her several times, but she didn't go over to chat with them. But as time passed, Master Bailey Yanhong was not coming out of seclusion. Morongchinga gradually, somewhat couldn't stand these days of not even having someone to talk to. Slowly, she also began to contact Yunxi and the others and joined in. Everyone was a woman, and they were all from Earth, and were about to go to an unfamiliar place. Morongchinga was also Bailey Yanhong's personal disciple. In the future, in the seven-colored glazed sect, Yunxi and the others might have to look up to Morongchinga. So even though Morongchinga just wanted to find a few people to talk and chat with, to pass the time, and didn't really integrate into their extended family, Yunxi and the others were still very welcoming. Most of what they chatted about was about Bailey Yanhong. In the behemoth galaxy, Lindong and Shenjingzihan were surrounded by dozens of strong people of the same level, and were about to die in body and soul. Not only did Bailey Yanhong's voice shatter the dog's guts of all the star beasts, but it also left Yunxi's group of women unable to remain calm in their hearts for a long time. In their former impression, it was impossible for women to catch up with men. There were also very few strong women on Earth. Huangfu Shiyu was considered an anomaly. Now there was even a female powerhouse of Bailey Yanhong's level. It could be said that after this incident, Yunxi and the others began to slowly change their minds. It turned out that women could also be this strong. Morongchinga was born in the hidden sect Kunlun and was extremely favored by her two genius senior brothers. Her nature was already very arrogant. Even when Lindong later became the savior of the earth, she had never lowered her stature to come to Lindong. Now that she was worshipping Bailey Yanhong, a peerless powerhouse, it had even made her self-confidence burst. This was coupled with the fact that Bailey Yanhong had said that she would train her to surpass herself. It was no exaggeration to say that the current Morongchinga had her eyes set high. Thus, for Yunxi and these women, she actually didn't think much of them. Chatting with Yunxi and the others was merely so that she could have someone to talk to and not suffocate. Nothing more. Sister Hong is just too powerful and handsome. With one voice, she can easily solve so many powerful enemies. I've decided that I will definitely cultivate hard in the future, and in the future I will also be as powerful as Sister Hong, and at that time, whoever dares to bully Brother Lindong and all of you sisters, I'll beat him to death. Lu Xiaoxiao clenched her fists and said with an excited expression. Good. Then Xiaoxiao has to work hard. In the future we will count on you for protection. Yunxi touched Lu Xiaoxiao's head and responded with a smile. The others followed suit and smiled together. Nowadays, it was as if they were a big family, with Lindong being the parent, protecting them from harm. After the incident in the behemoth galaxy, it turned out that Lindong, who was invincible in everyone's hearts, would also have times when he was isolated. Therefore, they also wanted to grow up and become stronger to be able to protect Lindong in turn. Not to mention that Lu Xiaoxiao was thinking this way. Everyone else thought so in their hearts, they just did not say it out loud. Don't worry, Sister Yunxi, I definitely will. Cut. Kids are just kids. Do you know what realm master she is in? Just threatening to reach her old man's strength. You're not afraid of being laughed off when you say it. You're really young and ignorant. Morongchinga struck out with an expressionless face. Sister Chinga, I know that Sister Hong is very, very powerful, but I won't give up. I'll aim for her and work hard to move forward. Lu Xiaoxiao said seriously. Master, she is an extraordinary existence even in advanced civilizations. If you want to reach her old man's strength, talent, luck and resources are indispensable. What do you little girl have? Nothing. You set your goal on her, simply unrealistic, or sober up a bit. Stop being so ignorant, lest you get laughed at when you arrive at the seven-colored glazed sect. At that time, don't say that I'm from the same place as you. I can't afford to lose that person. Morongchinga's words came out. Lu Xiaoxiao was immediately absent. The excitement completely disappeared. In its place was an expression of loss. Tooting a small mouth, tears flashed in her eyes. The smiles on the other people's faces also disappeared. Somewhat angrily, they looked at Morong Chinga. Didn't they know that it was simply impossible for Lu Xiaoxiao to reach Bailey Yanhong's strength? But everyone would not say anything to discourage Lu Xiaoxiao. Instead, they would give her confidence and let her persevere. After all, Lu Xiaoxiao was still young at full count. She was only a little over 20. What are you all looking at me like that for? I'm just being honest. Morong Chinga said in disbelief. Chinga, what are you doing? Xiao is still young, we should give her support and encouragement instead of cracking down. Huangfu Shiyu said. There's something wrong with telling the truth? Morong Chinga asked back. It's right to tell the truth, but we should also ask you to separate the occasions. We're all from Earth, going to a completely unfamiliar place. What we need to do is to help and support each other, not strike and dislike. Sorry. My character doesn't allow me to lie. Then you can keep quiet. No one is forcing you to talk. I'm also not used to seeing people bragging about themselves with things they can't even do, and I'm doing it for her own good, so that I don't fail to do it in the future and fall too far behind, and have trouble accepting it for a while and do something stupid. That's something for later. Moreover, we will always accompany Xiao, slowly enlighten her. If you are really not used to seeing it, you can leave, you are not welcome here. You. Morong Chinga was momentarily furious. Both eyes stared at Huangfu Shiyu. Huangfu Shiyu naturally met her gaze without the slightest fear. Humph. I hope that when we get to the 7-colored glazed sect, you guys are fine begging for my head, otherwise. Morong Chinga threw down these unfinished words and got up to leave. She didn't know why she disliked Lu Xiaoxiao like this. It was reasonable to say that all of this didn't have the slightest bit to do with her. In fact, deep inside Morong Chinga's heart, there was still some resentment towards Lin Dong. She hated the fact that Lin Dong had once rejected her in front of almost all the powers in China. It was just a matter of rejecting her, but he had also found so many mistresses. Among these mistresses of Lin Dong, other than Huangfu Xie, who could compare to her? However, Lin Dong had chosen to reject her. This was one thing that Morong Chinga could not let go of in her life. The words that Lu Xiaoxiao had just said, if they had come from the mouth of a stranger, Morong Chinga would have only laughed them off. But coming from Lin Dong's young lover, she just couldn't help but want to dislike them. Chapter 781, 2 quotas. Lin Dong would occasionally come out to chat with Yun Shi and the girls. However, more often than not, Chen Jing Zihan would come to Lin Dong and speak to him about the topic of the advanced civilization Star Void Realm. This allowed Lin Dong to be able to roughly understand some basic information about the Star Void Realm lest he would be confused when he arrived. Of course, as the young master of the Heavenly Star Mansion, most of the things that Chen Jing Zihan spoke about revolved around the Heavenly Star Mansion. The words were all about how powerful and awesome the Heavenly Star Mansion was, weakening some of the other forces. Anyway, in Chen Jing Zihan's eyes, the Heavenly Star Mansion was the strongest force in the Star Void Realm. Even if it wasn't now, it would definitely be in the future. This kind of blind confidence left Lin Dong speechless for a while. Brother Lin. The Heavenly Star Mansion is definitely the best choice for you. I guarantee that you will be able to receive the best treatment from the Heavenly Star Mansion after you join. Chen Jing Zihan did not forget to come up with such a sentence every time he was on his way out. Brother Chen, don't worry. As I said, if I have to join a force, I will definitely prioritize the Heavenly Star Mansion. It's just that right now, I'm used to getting away on my own and I don't quite want to be bound yet, so please ask Brother Chen to understand, Lin Dong replied. Alright. Then I will not force you, but in the future, if you need to join a force, you must prioritize my Heavenly Star Mansion. We are also considered good brothers who have experienced life and death. Definitely. Definitely. Brother Chen, think about it. When I first entered the Star Void Realm, I knew both you and Sister Hong, and the 7-colored glazed sect that Sister Hong is in doesn't accept men, so if I had the need, I would definitely choose to join your Heavenly Star Mansion, but rather, as you also said, we're good brothers who have experienced life and death. Since Brother Lin said so, then I am much more relieved. You rest first, I'm leaving. Take care, Brother Chen. Chen Jing Zihan left. He believed that once he reached the Star Void Realm, it would not be long before Lin Dong would come to his door and join the Heavenly Star Mansion. As for what Lin Dong said about not wanting to be bound, it was a complete fantasy. When joining the Heavenly Star Mansion, one would naturally have to abide by the constraints of the rules of the Heavenly Star Mansion. Of course, this was not exclusive to the Heavenly Star Mansion. Without rules, nothing could be accomplished. Every force would have their own unique rules to bind their people. It was the same regardless of which power Lin Dong joined, it was just that the higher the status and strength, the lesser the constraints. For example, the seven-colored glazed sect did not accept men. This was a rule set down by the old ancestor of the seven-colored glazed sect. It was impossible to change it because of a certain person, even if Lin Dong was exceptionally talented and shocked even Bailey Yanhong, the seven-colored glazed sect still would not accept him. Chen Jing Zihan, as the young lord of the Heavenly Star Mansion, was also unable to give Lin Dong much authority. All of these needed to be obtained step by step as Lin Dong gradually displayed his talent and strength. If one wished to achieve what Lin Dong had said about being unfettered, unless one's strength reached the point where one could make rules, only then could it be realized. Otherwise, one would want to get away with it alone. Where would it be that easy? In the Star Void realm, without a powerful backer, it was simply a fool's dream for a person to make a difference with just a passion. In the Astral Void realm, it is not to say that there is no such thing as a noble son from a humble family. But there are few and far between. And even if they did, they would join some big forces in order to continue to climb higher. Chen Jing Zihan was certain that Lin Dong would join the Heavenly Star Mansion soon, and there was another important reason. The seven-colored glazed sect had already seen 5 of the 7 great sacred maidens this term. In other words, there were still 2 more people to go before the 7 great saintesses were complete. The remaining 2 slots had now caused countless forces in the Star Void realm to fight for their heads. Everyone wanted to send their own people in to become one of the 7 great sacred maidens of the seven-colored glazed sect. This will not only allow them to have a good relationship with the seven-colored glazed sect, but by becoming one of the 7 great sacred daughters, they will also be able to obtain countless resources, and their future achievements will be unlimited. However, wanting to become one of the 7 holy daughters of the seven-colored glazed sect is not an easy task. Talent, fortune, and appearance are indispensable. These 7 people represented the face of the entire seven-colored glazed sect. Since Morong Chinga had already worshipped Bailey Yanhong as her teacher, she had basically booked one of the slots. There was still one more spot, if Chen Jing Zihan hadn't guessed correctly. It should be the woman Huangfu Shiyu. That is, one of Lin Dong's many young lovers. As long as Huangfu Siye became one of the seven-colored glazed sect's 7 great sacred maidens, no matter where she came from or what her origin was, she was bound to become the woman in the spotlight, with a bright future ahead of her. If Lin Dong didn't work hard and didn't make progress, there was no telling if the other party would even look at him in the future. There are also a bunch of Lin Dong's little lovers, all of them are not bad, there are also talented. Lin Dong wants to protect them, with the current strength is far from enough in the Milky Way galaxy. Lin Dong was the number 1 strongest person and was able to be free and do whatever he wanted. But when it came to the Star Void realm, everything needed to start from scratch. Joining the Heavenly Star Mansion would at least allow Lin Dong to have a higher platform than the majority of people. Chen Jing Zihan believed that when Lin Dong arrived at the Star Void realm and understood the situation, he would make the most correct choice. With the Heavenly Star Mansion as a backer, it was only then that Lin Dong could fully utilize the advantages of his talent, realize his value, and walk out on a different path. After Chen Jing Zihan left, Lin Dong sat down and began to think about some basic information about the Star Void realm. Although Chen Jing Zihan had only told him the tip of the iceberg about the Star Void realm, however, from these words, Lin Dong could also sense it. The situation of the Star Void realm was far too much more complicated than the Galaxy. The Galaxy had always been dominated by the Galaxy Empire, and all the forces had to survive under the Empire's nose. So everyone couldn't afford to make any waves, and there was no chaos. If there hadn't been the appearance of the remnants of the Celestial Empire, the Milky Way galaxy was definitely very safe and smooth, and it was impossible for a large-scale war to occur. The Star Void realm was different. There, no power was able to dominate there. It was a bit like the situation in the ancient times of Earth's Huaxia, where a group of kings dominated the world. There could be more than one power standing at the tip of the pyramid. Listening to Chen Jing Zihan's tone, Lin Dong even suspected that the Heavenly Star Mansion could very well only be considered as the second rung of the ladder below the tip of the pyramid. In this kind of place where the group was divided, Lin Dong was actually very restricted. If he wanted to rapidly increase his strength, he would have to spend tons and tons of money. If he did not have a backer or a background and spent too much money in the Star Void realm, he might attract attention if he was slightly inattentive. At that time, with Lin Dong's strength of merely being at the early stage of the Eternal Realm's Dominator grade, it would not be too much to look at. What about joining the Heavenly Star Mansion? It was true that one could avoid a lot of trouble from the outside world. However, he was afraid that it would attract attention from within the Heavenly Star Mansion. Lin Dong did not believe that the entire Celestial Star Mansion was an ironclad organization, where everyone was a brother or sister who could trust each other with their lives. In a large power like this, the internal competition would often be greater and more intense. When he was on Earth China, there was the restriction of China's laws and regulations. Lin Dong was still walking on thin ice and being careful when spending money in the beginning. Not to mention the Star Void Realm. How on earth could he not attract attention and still spend a large amount of money to obtain Divine Magnificence points to enhance his strength? Lin Dong was caught in a dilemma. Chapter 782, Not Forcing It. While Lin Dong was suffering from a headache because of the matter of spending money, Bailey Yanhong's voice suddenly rang in his ears. Lin Dong. Lin Dong was first stunned before he hurriedly got up and looked around, but he did not find Bailey Yanhong's figure. His position was exactly the room where Qingjing Zihan and Bailey Yanhong often talked about things, and Lin Dong thought that it was Bailey Yanhong who had come. Sister Hong? I am here. Lin Dong replied, do you have something going on right now? Bailey Yanhong asked with some hesitation. Nothing. Sister Hong can just command if there is anything. Lin Dong said. What could there be to do here? It was nothing more than sleeping or finding someone to chat with. Not even a bit of intimacy with Yun Shi was allowed. He was afraid of stimulating the desire in Bailey Yanhong's body. Ever since the last time Bailey Yanhong talked to Lin Dong and asked him to restrain himself a bit, Lin Dong never made out with Yun Shi again. At one point, Yun Shi thought that Lin Dong was not interested in her body anymore. She even said that if she wasn't interested, she could find other sisters. This gave Lin Dong a good explanation. He could not tell the truth. He could only lie as a last resort. Saying that he was recently in a critical moment of cultivation and could not be distracted, he was able to stabilize Yunshi. Lin Dong, if you are fine now, go back to your room. I have something to find you. Good. Sister Hong, wait a moment, I will go back now. After Lin Dong finished speaking, he walked towards his room. At the same time, he was also thinking as he walked, what exactly did Sister Hong want to find him for? During this period of time after leaving the Behemoth Galaxy, Bailey Yanhong had stayed in her room and had not come out even once. Everyone else thought that Bailey Yanhong was in closed-door cultivation. Only Lin Dong knew that she had not come out because she needed to suppress her body. During this period of time, Lin Dong had actually been very worried about Bailey Yanhong's situation. After quickly returning to his room, Lin Dong had just locked the door to his room. Bailey Yanhong's voice then sounded once again. Lin Dong. Next, don't make any noise to interrupt me, just listen and wait for me to finish my sentence before answering. Good. Sister Hong, you go ahead. I'll listen. After Lin Dong said this, he shut his mouth and waited for Bailey Yanhong's voice. However, 1 minute later, 3 minutes later, 5 minutes later, Lin Dong waited for a whole 5 minutes. Bailey Yanhong did not say a single word. What kind of situation was this? Lin Dong was confused. Bailey Yanhong had told him not to talk and interrupt, and to listen before answering. But now he had waited for 5 minutes. The other party had still not said a single word. A red room was in the middle of the room. At this time, Bailey Yanhong was having a fierce struggle in her heart. According to her current state, even if she used her full strength, she was already on the verge of not being able to suppress the desire in her body. If there hadn't been that outburst from the Behemoth Galaxy, perhaps she would have been able to hold out until she returned to the 7-colored glazed sect. Unfortunately, there was no if. She had already struck out. The suppression of her body also appeared a crack at that time. With the passage of time, the gap was also getting bigger and bigger. Now that energy was on the verge of breaking the seal from Bailey Yanhong's body. If something wasn't done about it, once that energy burst out, the consequences would be very serious. Wanting to temporarily suppress this energy, either a strong person beyond the Eternal Realm would step in to forcefully suppress it. This wasn't the Star Void Realm, it was impossible to find a strong person of this level, so it could just be vetoed. Either that or they were looking for a man to copulate with. Allowing this energy to circulate through the two men's bodies, ultimately achieving a yin and yang harmonization effect. But for the current Bailey Yanhong, ordinary men could no longer save her after all. This energy was frighteningly powerful, not anyone's body could withstand it. Unless there were countless men lined up to come. One to share a little. It was just that Bailey Yanhong couldn't control it either. In the end, it was likely that every man who had intercourse with her would die. Furthermore, with Bailey Yanhong's character, she had maintained her innocence for over 1,000 years, there was no way she would look for strange men to copulate to save her life. She would rather die than do so. The only person who could save her now was Lin Dong. The two of them could engage in a spiritual intercourse just like last time. Lin Dong's spiritual power was so huge that he could definitely withstand it. A little more important reason. The two had already had a spiritual melding once. It would not be that difficult for Bailey Yanhong to accept it again. Everything was difficult at the beginning, and for many things, with the first time, there would be a second and third time. Moreover, regarding Lin Dong as a person, Bailey Yanhong at least did not hate him. Besides, it was not really a physical mingling, it was only a spiritual mingling. The problem now was, Bailey Yanhong did not know what to say. A woman, asking a man to engage in a spiritual mingling with her that felt no less than real intercourse. How she was somewhat embarrassed to open this mouth. At the edge of the desire in her body that was about to explode, Bailey Yanhong instead slowly calmed down, and her complexion began to become firm. Anyway, there had already been a first time, in the spiritual illusion. What Lin Dong should have looked at had also been looked at, what he should have touched had also been touched, and it would be fine to do it again. When the time came, he would just keep his eyes closed the entire time. In order to save herself, and in order to save everyone else, Bailey Yanhong was also prepared to go out of her way. Just as Lin Dong could not hold back and was about to open his mouth to inquire, Bailey Yanhong's voice once again sounded. Lin Dong, regarding the matter of my charming body being energized by you, I have already given you a very clear explanation before, so I won't repeat it now. I hope that you will listen carefully to what I am going to say next. After the charming body has been inspired by you, I need to do my best to suppress that huge desire in my body, and I can't have the slightest bit of slackness. But during the time on the Behemoth Galaxy, the two of you brats forced yourselves to the brink of extinction with your tawdry maneuvers, and I couldn't just stand by and watch the two of you die in front of me, so under compelling circumstances, I struck out. And this strike also caused the desire in my body to rush open a slit. Even if I immediately suppressed it with all my might again, it still didn't help, and as time went on, this slit got bigger and bigger, and it eventually developed to the point that now, even I can't hold on any longer, and if I don't think of a way to do it in time, the consequences will be unimaginable. Now the only one who can stop the situation from continuing to develop is you. You now need to release your strong spiritual power again, like last time. Follow me for a spiritual melding, to achieve the effect of yin and yang harmonization. When Bailey Yanhong said this, she was probably also feeling a bit embarrassed. After a pause, before saying again, but I have to tell you in advance, although your spiritual power is very powerful, this energy in my body is not weak either. There will be a certain amount of risk for you to do this. As for whether you are willing to do it or not, it is up to you. This kind of thing, there is no way for me to force you. Chapter 783, I am willing. Bailey Yanhong's words. It left Lin Dong completely confused. He had actually thought that it might be that Bailey Yanhong could not suppress her body. It was just that when she actually said it and made a request of this kind, Lin Dong was still very surprised. He did not know how to reply. Agree immediately? Would it appear that he was too aggressive and casual? Although it was not a true physical intercourse, the feeling of the last time he and Bailey Yanhong had a spiritual melding was still fresh in Lin Dong's mind until now. It was no exaggeration to say that it was not inferior to physical intercourse at all. The two of them just did not have skin-to-skin contact. What Lin Dong saw and touched was not the slightest bit different from the real thing. As for refusal? It would be even more impossible. This was not only saving Bailey Yanhong. It was also to save himself and Yun Shi and the countless lives. Who knew what Bailey Yanhong would do when she was controlled by desire? With her strength that could be described as terrifying. In a low to medium level civilization, it was an invincible existence. And it was him who inspired the charming body. The one who made Bailey Yanhong forced to make a move and caused this situation today was also him. Lin Dong simply could not find any reason to refuse. Just what to say, he still needed to think about it. Neither could he appear to be too aggressive, nor could he make Bailey Yanhong feel embarrassed. Lin Dong thought things over roughly in his mind, and only a few seconds had passed. However, these few seconds made Bailey Yanhong feel like years. After she had finished speaking, her eyes had been firmly fixed on Lin Dong, waiting for his reply. As a result, 1, 2, 3 seconds passed. Lin Dong did not say a word, but only slightly frowned, seemingly somewhat reluctant. This kind of performance caused Bailey Yanhong to develop extreme anger and even feel intensely humiliated. To think that she was the head of the previous 7 holy maidens of the 7-colored glazed sect, an existence that had caused countless heavenly pride demons to fall head over heels. Taking the initiative to make such a humiliating request. Lin Dong, this brat, was actually a little reluctant? If it was in the Star Void realm, she would have casually let out a little wind and said that she wanted to find a man to rely on. It was guaranteed that there would immediately be countless great figures flocking to her. Perhaps even powerhouses beyond the Eternal Realm would descend. How many people in the entire Star Void realm could achieve this kind of appeal? Definitely not more than 3, and she, Bailey Yanhong, was one of them. Lin Dong had completely gotten a heavenly bargain without even realizing it. Even if we put this aside, inspiring Bailey Yanhong's seductive body was done by Lin Dong. To travel to the Behemoth Galaxy to resolve his worries was also Lin Dong's decision. In the end, causing the siege of dozens of Dominator-level powerhouses, although there was Qin Jing Zihan's credit in it, Lin Dong could not be absolved of the blame. Now that he was asked to do just a small favor, what was the meaning of showing such a less than willing expression? Is it possible that he has suffered a loss? Bailey Yanhong's silver teeth clenched. At this moment, she wanted to slap over and give Lin Dong a profound lesson. In the end, who was the one who suffered a loss? The Dao heart that she had held onto for more than 1,000 years had been broken by Lin Dong so easily. Not finding trouble with Lin Dong was already right for him. How dare he frown? In Bailey Yanhong's thoughts, it was not easy for her to muster up the courage to make the request. Lin Dong should not have the slightest hesitation, and should immediately show a very excited look before agreeing gratefully. What? Are you unwilling? Bailey Yanhong's silver teeth clenched as she asked in an unkind tone. With her current state of extreme irritability, it seemed that as long as one of Lin Dong's answers displeased her, she would immediately storm out. Letting Lin Dong try out what kind of consequences it would be like to anger a supreme great powerhouse. Lin Dong was still trying to think of what would be an appropriate reply when he was pulled back to reality by Bailey Yanhong's words. He also heard that there was something wrong with Bailey Yanhong's tone. Immediately, he replied, "No. It's not. Sister Hong must not misunderstand." Then what do you mean by not saying anything for such a long time? Doesn't this mean that you don't want to agree? Lin Dong, if you don't want to, you can just say so. I won't force you. Big deal. We'll all end up together. Bailey Yanhong's tone still did not improve. Lin Dong was rendered speechless. Had he not spoken for a long time? It shouldn't have been more than 10 seconds since Bailey Yanhong had just finished speaking. How long was this? Women, nah. It's true that they are temperamental animals. However, Bailey Yanhong's situation was still understandable to Lin Dong. Lin Dong could still understand. Before she met herself, she was an honorable cosmic enforcer and her strength was terrifying. As a result, after coming to the galaxy and encountering himself, not only was she lightly treated in the spiritual illusion realm, the powerful strength was also restricted and could not be utilized. There was also the danger of being controlled by desire at any time. This kind of situation, no matter who encountered it, would not be in a good mood. Lin Dong did not want to touch the other party's mold right now. Although Bailey Yanhong's status was high and her strength was strong, she was still relatively sensible. If he met some unreasonable guys. Lin Dong now estimated that the 7th day of his life had already passed. Moreover, he was most responsible for causing this situation. Sister Hong is wronged. Just now I was only silently chastising myself in my mind, so I forgot to speak for a while, causing the situation you are facing today. I am 10,000 times more sorry. In the end, all of this is caused by me. If it was not for me, how could you, with such an honorable status and such a powerful strength, have ended up in this situation? I really deserve to die for my sins. Lin Dong said in agony. It had to be said. His performance was still quite on point. It was almost as close to tears in his voice. This was something that Bailey Yanhong did not anticipate. She who was originally furious. At this moment, it had also dissipated for the most part. In that case, you agree? Bailey Yanhong spoke in a much lighter tone than just now. Agreed. Agree. Of course I agree. Not to mention the slightest danger, even if I were to be shattered to pieces, as long as I can help Sister Hong and get you out of the current perilous situation, I, Lin Dong, will never frown. Lin Dong patted his chest and assured. The small half of Bailey Yanhong's anger that was still left had disappeared with Lin Dong's words. Although Lin Dong was right, the current situation was all caused by him. However, it was actually Bailey Yanhong's charming body that was the culprit. Otherwise, how could Lin Dong's spiritual energy be out of control? Lin Dong's attitude today. It was what Bailey Yanhong wanted to see. Even if there was an element of acting involved. At least the words spoken were still very comforting. Chapter 784, Reconciling Yin and Yang. Alright. Don't say these useless things, the danger is indeed a little bit, but with your huge spiritual power, it's still very simple to cope with it. Since you've already agreed to it, let's get ready. I can't hold on much longer. After Bailey Yanhong finished speaking, she fell silent. Obviously what she faced next was something she also needed to mentally prepare for. Alright. Sister Hong, I know. After Lin Dong finished speaking, he hurriedly rummaged around the room and found a set of clothes, preparing to take a shower. But he suddenly froze again. It wasn't like this Tama was actually rolling in bed. It was just in a spiritual environment. What's the point of taking a shower? Get over it. Lin Dong threw his clothes to the side and then lay down on the bed, slowly calming himself. After waiting until the feeling had been adjusted, he released his powerful spiritual energy and followed Bailey Yanhong's hint of guidance to an unfamiliar place. What met his eyes was a sea of red. Where was this place? It can't be Sister Hong's boudoir, right? At this moment a voice rang out. Lin Dong, close your eyes. Lin Dong followed the voice and saw Bailey Yanhong appear not far away. At this moment, Bailey Yanhong was wearing a long red dress that displayed her overwhelming figure. Her face was flushed and her pair of seductive eyes were charming. Lin Dong's throat could not help but move when he saw Bailey Yanhong's appearance. I told you to close your eyes, do you hear me? Bailey Yanhong spoke again. Oh. Good. Lin Dong came back to his senses and hurriedly replied by closing his eyes. In his heart, he could not help but feel some pity. Lin Dong, what we are doing next is just to suppress the desire in my body that has arisen due to the excitation of the charming body. This desire is so huge that I am already a little overwhelmed. Once it explodes out, my sanity will slowly be devoured by it, and I will eventually become someone who is completely controlled by the desire. That is why I need your help. As long as I find a balance of yin and yang that is in tune with it, it will be possible to suppress it temporarily, I hope. You don't think too much about it and don't tell anyone, Bailey Yanhong said slowly. I understand, Sister Hong, don't worry. Only the two of us know about this matter. I promise that I will absolutely not tell a third person. Good then. Let's get ready to start. This time you have to keep your eyes closed the whole time. You can't open them, or you know the consequences. Good. Lin Dong replied with his eyes closed. However, he had some regrets in his heart. Last time, because he did not understand what was going on, causing him to be very nervous, he was not able to take a closer look at the glimpse of scenery under the red skirt covering Bailey Yanhong originally. He thought that this time he could properly appreciate it. Unexpectedly, he could only close his eyes. Since Lin Dong's eyes were closed in the mental environment, he could only stand in place. Not long after, Lin Dong could smell a fresh fragrance wafting over. He knew that it was Bailey Yanhong walking over. Then he was hugged by a soft and plump body. It was so big. Lin Dong felt something on his chest. Bailey Yanhong leaned her head on Lin Dong's shoulder, her lips touched Lin Dong's ear and blew a breath into it. Lin Dong's body suddenly trembled, and in that instant just now, he felt a surge of electricity spread throughout his body. Thinking back to Bailey Yanhong's charming appearance, Lin Dong felt that the most primitive desires in his body were on the verge of being hooked out, and his skin slowly began to burn. This was Bailey Yanhong's purpose. If she wanted to utilize Lin Dong and carry out yin-yang reconciliation to repress it again, she had to draw out the desire in Lin Dong's body in order to do so. In fact, as long as Lin Dong opened his eyes and looked at her current appearance a few more times, he did not need to do any of this to achieve a better result. At first, Bailey Yanhong also thought the same way. She closed her eyes herself and let Lin Dong do whatever he wanted. But thinking about it later, she still could not do it to let Lin Dong see her naked body. That was why she let Lin Dong close his eyes and she did the leading. Lin Dong, next. Don't speak, don't open your eyes, just enjoy yourself. Bailey Yanhong's voice carried endless seductive power as she said softly in Lin Dong's ear. Lin Dong had just opened his mouth and before the words could be spoken, he was immediately sealed by Bailey Yanhong's red lips. He could only respond passively. Gradually his hands were also slowly placed behind Bailey Yanhong and wrapped around her. At this moment, Lin Dong did not want anything, his eyes were closed the entire time and he was completely the party being guided. Bailey Yanhong on the other hand was like a queen, holding the absolute initiative. As Bailey Yanhong let out a nasal sound, the desire in her body exploded out in the mental illusion. It began to rush inside the two people's spiritually illusory bodies, wanting to escape. This was when Lin Dong's massive spiritual power came into play. No matter how much that desire bounced around, it was unable to charge the two to break through the mental illusion body. Gradually, a taiji pattern of yin and yang harmonization was generated. The strand of desire in Bailey Yanhong's body also gradually lost its momentum, and finally returned to her body. Quiet Lin Dong was still enjoying himself when he suddenly felt that the voluptuous body in his arms had disappeared. He snapped his eyes open and realized that he had returned to his room and was lying alone on the bed. Bailey Yanhong's voice then sounded. Lin Dong. Thank you, I have successfully controlled that energy in my body. I believe that in a short period of time, it does not have a chance to make waves again, rest well. Lin Dong was in tears at this moment. This Bailey Yanhong was a typical case of crossing the river and breaking the bridge. She completely disregarded others after she had achieved her own goal. Just give Lin Dong a little more time. He would have been able to fly to the highest point. This feeling of being thrown down in midair was just too unbearable. Thinking back to the buxom body that he had touched in the mental illusion, Lin Dong really wanted to win. Would he put Bailey Yanhong, this superb woman, in her place? Let's see if it was the same as in the mental illusion. He was not a good person, but he was a very good person. Forget it. Lin Dong shook his head. If he did that, he would really apologize to Yun Shi. It was not even close to that now. He was forced to do it himself and was only trying to save everyone. If Bailey Yanhong was controlled by desire, everyone would be doomed. Although he was indignant in his heart, Lin Dong replied respectfully on his lips, Sister Hong, there is no need to thank me. These are all things that I should do. If you need anything in the future, look for me as soon as possible. HM. I know. Right, Sister Hong, I have a question. Go ahead. Since you can now control that energy, is it possible for Yun Shi and I to? Lin Dong did not finish his sentence. He believed that Bailey Yanhong would understand. No. Bailey Yanhong directly refused. Why? Lin Dong was puzzled. He was really not feeling good right now. It was alright before this. After Bailey Yanhong had just teased him so much. The body had been completely awakened. Lin Dong, it is not that I am not allowing you to make out with your little lover, but it is because the energy produced by the charming body's arousal is more powerful than you can imagine. This time we can still control it, but the next time when it erupts it may not be certain, so for the sake of everyone's safety, just bear with it. Wait until we reach the Star Void Realm, you can do whatever you want. Chapter 785, Bailey Yanhong's Situation. Bailey Yanhong also knew that she had indeed gone a little too far in not allowing Lin Dong to make out with his young lover. However, she also had no choice. It was not easy to control it temporarily. She did not want to make a comeback in the blink of an eye. This situation today was something that Bailey Yanhong had never anticipated. Ever since she was a child, her master had always told her that she was different from other women and was not allowed to have a man, otherwise it would not only harm the other person, but also herself. Therefore, Bailey Yanhong had only secretly moved in love once during her once ignorant teenage years, and was then directly pinched off by her master when he discovered the first signs. After that, she never thought about this aspect of the matter, and devoted herself to cultivation. Originally, Bailey Yanhong thought that it would be impossible for her to cross paths with a man again in her life. Unexpectedly, she came to a low-level civilization and met Lin Dong, a pervert with low strength but strong spiritual power. This ultimately caused such a result. It had also disrupted the path that Bailey Yanhong's master had taken the trouble and effort to specially formulate for her. She now didn't even know how to go back and explain to Master her old man. Although she hadn't broken her body, the charming body had indeed been aroused in the plan that Master had set up for her. It was to never excite the charmed body. This was the premise. However, it had now been broken. Ugh! Bailey Yanhong, who had returned to her normal state, silently sighed. Now she could only wait until she returned to the seven-colored glazed sect and see what her master said. With the help of Lin Dong's powerful spiritual energy, it caused the desires inspired by Bailey Yan's charming body to reach a balance point where yin and yang were harmonized. However, these were only temporary. The charming body was one of the most special physiques in the universe. Could it not be resolved so easily? With the charmed body, Bailey Yanhong not only sat at the head of the seven sacred maidens of the seven-colored glazed sect, but she also reached the last level of the eternal realm, the supreme level, in less than 2,000 years. It could be seen that the power of the charming body was by no means comparable to an ordinary physique. Once this kind of physique was successfully stimulated, the consequences would also be very serious. If Bailey Yanhong wanted to completely eliminate the desire in her body, there was still a long, long way to go. Moreover, after the charming body was stimulated, this desire would continue to grow with time. Even if Bailey Yanhong returned to the seven-colored glazed sect and had the help of a strong person beyond the eternal realm, she could only suppress it for a moment, but not for a lifetime. Unless Bailey Yanhong's own strength continued to increase, and at a speed faster than the growth of this desire, in order to keep it firmly under control. However, this is simply impossible. As the realm gets higher and higher, the speed of strength growth gets slower and slower. In less than 2,000 years, Bailey Yanhong had crossed over the star realm, the cosmic realm, and reached the eternal realm supreme level. The spanning amplitude had reached 8 ranks. The speed could not be said to be fast. Even in the star void realm, an advanced civilization, it was still among the topmost demons. This wasn't something that could be achieved by just working hard. The vast majority of it came from the merits of her charming body. But next, Bailey Yanhong's cultivation speed would come to a tortoise speed period. It would also usher in the second hurdle in her life. The first pass was from the star realm to the eternal realm. The second was from the eternal sword to the next great realm. This barrier would also stop over 99% of the eternal realm powerhouses. It was hard to say if Bailey Yanhong could cross over. Even if she could, that would still be thousands and thousands of years, or even tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of years from now. How much time it would take, no one could be sure, but this time was certainly not fast enough to match the speed at which the desire of the charmed body grew. The earlier the charmed body was aroused, the easier it would be to control and resolve. Conversely, the more difficult it would be. Bailey Yanhong was now a supreme-level powerhouse, which was considered very late. Therefore, the power of her charming body's excitation was also quite tremendous. With her own strength, it was somewhat difficult to suppress it. There was actually the simplest way. That was to keep a man like Lin Dong by her side at all times. As soon as the first signs of it were detected, they would immediately engage in spiritual intermingling to achieve a balance point of yin and yang reconciliation. However, this was also treating the symptoms but not the root cause. In short, Bailey Yanhong's next days might not be too good. What she was about to face was more than just physical torture. There was also the pressure from her division as well as her master. One must know that Bailey Yanhong was the youngest among the existing supreme-level powerhouses of the seven-colored glazed sect, and the one with the most hope to surpass the eternal realm. She, who had high hopes placed on her by her master and the sect, had had such an accident in this low-level civilization. Bailey Yanhong had already anticipated what expression her master and sect would have when they knew about her current situation. It was estimated that they would be very disappointed. Little bastard. You've caused me a lot of trouble. How does this make me go back and explain to my master and sect? Bailey Yanhong shook her head and said softly. However, the only thing that comforted her was the discovery of Morong Chinga and Huangfu Siye as well as the trio of Lin Dong. Morong Chinga was a charming body just like her. Even if she herself was ruined, there was also Morong Chinga to take the top. It was just that cultivation would take a lot of time and effort as well as resources. Hopefully, bringing these three back would allow Master and all the elders of the division to forgive themselves. Forget it, it's better not to think about this. Since things had already reached this point, it was useless to think about it any further. One could only take one step at a time. Bailey Yanhong then closed her eyes. starting to carefully check the situation of her body. Ever since the charming body had been inspired, she had been suppressing the desires in her body, and simply did not have the energy or time to check her body. Now she finally had the opportunity. Bailey Yanhong also wanted to see what difference there would be between when the charming body was not aroused and after it was aroused. After Lin Dong received Bailey Yanhong's answer, he could only accept it helplessly and continued to lie on the bed trying to keep himself from thinking about that aspect. It was just that the more he forced himself, the more the wonderful touch brought to him by that voluptuous body in the spiritual environment just now would keep appearing in his mind, although he did not see it at that time with his eyes closed. However, this did not hinder Lin Dong's various brainstorms in the slightest. The first time in the spiritual illusion, although Lin Dong had seen Bailey Yanhong's body, he had not savored it due to the fact that he simply did not know what was going on at that time. This second time, when he was ready to feel it properly, he was asked by Bailey Yanhong not to open his eyes. Combining the two, it was just the right time to brainstorm the scene at that time. The more he thought about it, the hotter Lin Dong's body became. He felt that when facing Bailey Yanhong, his self-control that he had always been proud of was somewhat ineffective. Yun Shi and these top-notch beauties were turning around in front of Lin Dong every day, wearing all sorts of clothes to tempt him, and he was able to endure it. However, here at Bailey Yanhong, it did not work too well. Lin Dong felt that this should not be his own problem, but rather, Bailey Yanhong's seductive body was indeed too powerful. Lin Dong was somewhat unable to take it anymore and sat up to take a few deep breaths. Then he got out of bed, took the clothes that he had just thrown away and got up to take a cold shower. Chapter 786, Shimen Fugui. Star Void Realm. This was the hometown of Bailey Yanhong in Chenjing Zihan. The Star Void Realm was a rank 7 civilization. Don't look at the difference between a level 7 civilization and a level 6 civilization, but the actual difference is like a world of difference. It wasn't a matter of the difference of one level, but rather the dividing line between intermediate and advanced civilizations. To cross this demarcation line was countless times more difficult than stepping into the eternal realm at the cosmic realm. Thinking about the fact that the Milky Way galaxy had not been able to produce a single eternal realm after so many years, one would know how difficult it was for an intermediate-level civilization to step into an advanced civilization. The Star Void Realm was different from the Milky Way galaxy and the Beast Galaxy, which were low to medium-level civilizations. Not only are there various large, medium and small planets, but there are also many continents floating in the void. These continents are occupied by major powers as a place for them to thrive. Only large forces that have reached a certain level of strength have the opportunity to use the continent as a breeding ground. As for other small forces, they could only occupy various planets. The planets and continents were the standard for distinguishing between strength and weakness. The ultimate dream of countless forces was to have a continent of their own. Unfortunately, limited resources like continents could only be occupied by powerful forces. The seven-colored glazed sect and the Heavenly Star Mansion were extremely powerful forces in the Star Void Realm, and they each occupied a continent. The continent where the Heavenly Star Mansion was located was called the Heavenly Star Continent. And the continent where the seven-colored glazed sect was located was called the Seven-Colored Continent. Both were named after their forces. Even if a large power fell and the continent was occupied by another power, then the name of the continent would change along with it. While Lin Dong and Bailey Yanhong were engaging in spiritual intermingling, there was a wide continent in the Star Void Realm. This continent was named the Shimen Continent. As the name suggested, this was the Starry Void Realm, the continent occupied by the Shimen family. Although the Shimen family was not as powerful as the Heavenly Star Mansion and the seven-colored glazed sect in the Starry Void Realm, but being able to occupy a continent proved that their strength was not weak at all. Moreover, the cohesion of a family was far stronger than the cohesion of a sect power like the seven-colored glazed sect. In the Shimen continent, in the Shimen family's ancestral land, a middle-aged man suddenly opened his eyes, his entire face twisted together as a pair of eyes emitted monstrous rage. This man's name was Shimen Fugui, an old ancestor-level figure of the Shimen family. It was also an existence that surpassed the eternal realm. He was also the very same great man who had publicly announced that his position as the main lady of the palace would forever be reserved for Bailey Yanhong. Shimen Fugui had already begun to pursue Bailey Yanhong fiercely when he first met her more than 1,000 years ago. It was reasonable to say that with his Shimen family ancestor's status and strength beyond the eternal realm, he should be able to get his hands on her. Among the previous holy maidens of the seven-colored glazed sect, there were not a few who had married into various great powers. This was also the reason why the seven-colored glazed sect and all the major powers in the Star Void realm were able to maintain good relations. Shen Jing Zihan's mother was one of them. But this time, Shimen Fugue was rejected. Not only did Bailey Yanhong reject him, even the seven-colored glazed sect directly rejected his marriage proposal. The reason given by the seven-colored glazed sect was that Bailey Yanhong was a successor trained by the seven-colored glazed sect and would not be married out. However, Shimen Fugue did not give up on this, and kept stating in public that he was very fond of Bailey Yanhong, and that he would always keep his position as the wife of the main palace for her more than 1,000 years past. Shimen Fugue still hasn't changed a bit. If Bailey Yanhong was not from the seven-colored glazed sect, he probably would have made a direct move to snatch her. Unfortunately, the seven-colored glazed sect was not something that his Shimen family could shake. Shimen Fugue couldn't get Bailey Yanhong now, and he wouldn't allow any man to touch his sweetheart. Therefore, in his contact with Bailey Yanhong, he had once quietly tampered with the other party. Therefore, when Bailey Yanhong and Lin Dong mingled for the first time in the spiritual illusion realm, Shimen Fugue already had knowledge of it. And this was the second time. How could Shimen Fugue stand this? The woman that he had guarded for more than 1,000 years was becoming more and more mature, more and more heartwarming, and more desirable. In the end, she was plucked by another man's peach. As a man, or a man with strength beyond the eternal realm. How could Shimen Fugue swallow this breath? He couldn't shake the seven-colored glazed sect. Then it could only take out his anger on this man. Bastard! No matter who you are, I will definitely catch you, break you into pieces, and throw your bones to the ground. Dare to touch my woman. If I don't execute your 9 clans, I won't take on the surname Shimen. And Bailey Yanhong, you bitch, you always look noble in front of me. How long have you only been away now? And you have a man, you're very capable. Shimen Fugue suppressed the anger in his heart and gritted his teeth. Although he did not know exactly what the situation was like right now. But according to the news passed on by the hidden hand he had left on Bailey Yanhong's body, it was an indisputable fact that Bailey Yanhong had a man. Shimen Fugue also thought about whether it was possible to be forced. After all, Bailey Yanhong's temptation increased geometrically as her strength grew. A normal man would probably be attracted to her. If it wasn't for the fact that she had the seven-colored glazed sect as a backer, there would probably be quite a few men in the Starry Void realm who would want to make a move on her. It was just that Bailey Yanhong had left the Star Void realm and had been sent out by the seven-colored glazed sect to carry out the mission of a cosmic enforcer, which Shimen Fugue was aware of. In a low to medium level civilization, with Bailey Yanhong's eternal realm supreme level strength, she was an invincible existence, so it was impossible for her to be forced, it could only be voluntary. In a low to medium level civilization, no matter what means were used, one could never think of threatening a supreme level powerhouse unless one obtained something special in the relics of a high level civilization. However, this possibility was so small and insignificant that it was almost negligible. A high-level civilization's relics, even if he, a powerhouse beyond the eternal realm, went in, it would still be a crisis, not to mention all the garbage from the middle and low-level civilizations. Shimen Fugue now wanted to see what kind of man could make Bailey Yanhong do such a treacherous thing even at the expense of betraying her master. Could it be even better than himself, the Shimen family's oldest ancestor, an existence beyond the eternal realm? No way. This matter, he had to find out the truth. Since Bailey Yanhong was already unclean, then with Shimen Fugue's status, he would definitely not want it. Now, not to mention being a proper wife for him, even as a concubine, Shimen Fugue would feel ashamed. He also had to make this pair of dogs pay a sufficient price before he could do so. Shimen Fugue stood up. He was going to leave the Shimen continent and make a trip to the seven-colored continent. Go and ask the seven-colored glazed sect, isn't Bailey Yanhong the successor you have trained? Why would she lose her body while on a cosmic enforcer mission? Is this looking down on him, Shimen Fugue, or looking down on his Shimen family? Chapter 787 The Impasse. Shimen Fugue was preparing to leave the Shimen continent and head to the seven-colored continent. He was going to go to the seven-colored glazed sect to make a claim. Anyways, he, Shimen Fugue, was also in existence beyond the eternal realm, and even in the Star Void realm, that was still a big-shot level figure with a reputation. More than once, he had openly expressed his love for Bailey Yanhong and hoped that she would be his wife, only to be rejected by the seven-colored glazed sect and Bailey Yanhong. If Bailey Yanhong came back and the news of her broken body got out, would his face still be disgraced? What about the face of the entire Shimen family? Bailey Yanhong rejected him, and in the blink of an eye, she was broken outside. Doing so was completely hitting the face of his Shiman Fuguei and the Shiman family. And the seven-colored glazed sect, as the top power in the Star Void realm, it was a bit unreasonable to talk like that, wasn't it? Shiman Fuguei felt that the seven-colored glazed sect should be unaware of this right now. But this was not important. What was important was that the seven-colored glazed sect and Bailey Yanhong had not kept their words, refuting the face of him, a powerhouse of the transcendent eternal realm, and causing him to lose face in the starry void realm. This reasoning had to be stood before he could talk about the next request. Since its inception, the seven-colored glazed sect has only accepted women, and it can be said that it has collected more than 80% of the outstanding women in the starry void realm. As long as the seven-colored glazed sect was out, it was definitely a beautiful sight. Among them, the seven holy daughters were the most important. Successive seven holy women are after layers of selection, set of beauty, wisdom, talent in one, each one of the top beauty, not to mention, the strength is also very powerful. In the Star Void realm, which man would not be proud to marry one of the seven-colored glazed sect's sacred maidens? But the ones who can succeed are rare. After all, the number is originally small, but also to leave some to continue the seven-colored glazed sect. Every person who could successfully marry the holy daughter of the seven-colored glazed sect had a not-so-low status in the Star Void realm. Shiman Fuguei, as the old ancestor of the Shiman family, it had already lived for tens of thousands of years. However, for the powerhouses above the eternal realm, time was no longer important to them. They had too much time to squander. As for Shiman Fuguei, it was only more than 1,000 years ago that he broke through the barrier of the eternal realm and reached a strength beyond the eternal realm. Before that, he had been in seclusion for tens of thousands of years. After 10,000 years of time in seclusion, Shiman Fuguei naturally had some pent-up panic, so as soon as he came out of seclusion, he began to take wives and concubines in a high profile. On one hand, it was to solve his own problems. Secondly, it was to declare to the entire Star Void realm that I, Shiman Fuguei, finally took this step after 10,000 years of seclusion. It would also increase the prestige of the Shiman family. Such a powerhouse beyond the eternal realm wanted to find a proper wife, and would definitely go to the seven-colored glazed sect to take a turn. As a result, he was attracted to Bailey Yanhong. Shiman Fuguei once had a main palace wife, but she failed to pass the test of time and eventually disappeared into the river of history. This was already tens of thousands of years ago. With Shiman Fuguei's identity and strength, if he retreated and didn't set his sights on Bailey Yanhong, the head of the seven holy maidens, he still had a very good chance. Unfortunately, he had recognized Bailey Yanhong. And now, since Bailey Yanhong had been broken, she definitely couldn't be wanted. Shiman Fuguei was going to aim his sights at this term's seven holy maidens and book one first. Anyway, no matter what, he had to marry a holy maiden of the seven-colored Liuli sect before he could go home. Only the holy daughter of the seven-colored glazed sect could be worthy of his status as the lady of the palace, Shiman Fuguei. What he had to do now was to stand on this word of reason, that way even the seven-colored glazed sect would not be able to continue to oppose it. The death to offend a strong person beyond the eternal realm, even if the seven-colored glazed sect was a large family, it would not do so. Bailey Yanhong did not know what kind of predicament she would face when she returned to the Star Void realm and the seven-colored glazed sect. Not only would she have to face the interrogation and chastisement of her own master and sect, there was also Shiman Fuguei, a powerhouse beyond the eternal realm, who was going to ask for an account from her as well. Lin Dong could be said to have victimized her. Although this was not Bailey Yanhong's fault, nor was it something she could control herself. However, she was unable to speak of her bitterness. She could only secretly swallow this bitter fruit. Moreover, once Shiman Fuguei knew that it was Lin Dong who had pried his corner. What Lin Dong would be facing would be the wrath of a powerhouse beyond the eternal realm. With Lin Dong's current strength of merely eternal realm sovereign level, he was not even qualified to lift the shoes of such a powerful person. Even if he possessed the system, it would be impossible for him to withstand the other party. Unless Lin Dong was given some time to grow, he would have a chance. But would the other party really give him the chance to grow? It was estimated to be somewhat difficult. Bailey Yanhong frowned slightly after checking her physical condition in the room. From the first time she had engaged in spiritual intermingling with Lin Dong, causing the charming body to be aroused. She had been doing her best to suppress the powerful desire that arose after the excitation of the charming body. Therefore, she did not have the energy to pay attention to her body. Just now, after carefully examining her body, Bailey Yanhong realized that there were two places that were not quite right. One was that her spiritual power had actually become much stronger. It was more than several times more powerful than before at least. This had to be very good news for Bailey Yanhong, who was about to come to the peak of the Eternal Realm. If one wanted to break through the barrier of the Eternal Realm, one's spiritual energy had to reach a certain degree of strength before one could do so. And spiritual power was the most difficult thing to cultivate. Many people were stuck at the peak of the Eternal Realm, unable to cross this barrier for a long time, just because their spiritual power was not strong enough. As for heavenly treasures that could increase spiritual power, they were all things that could not be found. Once discovered, it would definitely cause the major powers to go crazy and grab them. It was countless times more precious than an illusionary divine soldier. Right now, Bailey Yanhong's spiritual power could actually grow several times in such a short period of time. What in the world was going on here? Was it a one-time growth caused by the excitation of the charming body? Or was it the sustainable growth caused by the spiritual intermingling with Lin Dong, a pervert with strong spiritual power? Bailey Yanhong could not be certain if it was due to the excitation of the charming body, then she no longer had a charming body to excite, and the next growth of her spiritual power would return to the previous turtle speed. However, if it was the reason for the spiritual intermingling with Lin Dong, then there would be an article to do. Anyway, it had already been taken advantage of twice by Lin Dong, so a few more times would be acceptable. Not only could the desires in the body be kept in a state of yin and yang harmony for a long period of time, unable to come out and cause trouble, but it could also rapidly enhance the spiritual power. Why not? The current Bailey Yanhong, after the two spiritual minglings with Lin Dong, she had already slowly accepted Lin Dong from within and recognized him anyway. She at least did not resent doing such humiliating things with Lin Dong. Perhaps it would not be long before she would take it for granted even if she had a real physical intercourse with Lin Dong. However, the prerequisite was that Lin Dong could withstand her charming body and not be sucked dry by her. Chapter 788 Spiritual Seed. In addition to the fact that her spiritual power had increased by several times, Bailey Yanhong had also discovered an extremely deep hidden spirit seed within her body. If it wasn't for the fact that her spiritual power was much stronger, she wouldn't have been able to discover it at all. This was because she had never discovered it before. At first, Bailey Yanhong thought that it was left behind by her master. As a result, when she touched this spiritual seed, she felt the aura on it, which did not belong to her master at all. Bailey Yanhong was puzzled. Since it was not her master, who on earth would leave a spirit seed in her body? This was clearly for the purpose of spying on herself. Moreover, from this spiritual seed, Bailey Yanhong sensed that its owner's spiritual power was very strong, so that meant that this person's strength, too, should be very strong. It could not be said that there were no oddballs in the universe like Lin Dong who had strong spiritual power and weak strength, but they were definitely rare to the extreme. At least Bailey Yanhong had only encountered one Lin Dong in the past 1,000 years, and had never even heard of the others. There was also nothing in the historical records of the seven-colored glazed sect. Spiritual power was something that could only be generated when one reached the Eternal Realm Supreme level, and was prepared for breaking through the barrier of the Eternal Realm. And for Lin Dong, a fellow who had entered the Eternal Realm for the first time, to possess such a huge amount of spiritual power was truly unbelievable. It was believed that even if Master, her old man, knew about it, he would definitely be shocked. Bailey Yanhong had come into contact with quite a few strong people over the years of time, and she couldn't guess exactly who had left her the spiritual seed. The key is that she doesn't know what time period was left behind, otherwise she would have listed the strong people she came into contact with during this period of time one by one, and by eliminating them, she should be able to narrow down the scope. Since she couldn't guess, she wouldn't guess. It just wasn't good for this thing to stay in her body, she had to find a way to disarm it. She had just tried, and even though the other party had only left behind a spiritual seed, she still couldn't remove it with her spiritual power if it wasn't for the fact that for some reason Bailey Yanhong's spiritual power had grown several times. She wouldn't have even been able to discover it. What to do? Bailey Yanhong was in a tangle. It seemed that she could only ask Lin Dong to help again. Otherwise, she would have to wait until she returned to the seven-colored glazed sect and let her master help her remove it. It was just a matter of not discovering it. Now that it has been discovered, Bailey Yanhong did not want to let someone else's thing stay in her body and monitor her at all times. Lin Dong had just returned from a cool shower, allowing his agitated body to slowly calm down. Who knew that at this time, Bailey Yanhong's voice sounded once again. Lin Dong, I have something to ask for your help. When Lin Dong heard this voice, the kind of image that had just appeared in his mind again involuntarily, it caused his body, which had already calmed down, to become paralyzed once again. Sister Hong. It can't be that your body can't suppress it again, right? Lin Dong asked with a bitter smile. What are you thinking about? Lin Dong, can't you think of anything else in your mind? Thinking about these beautiful things. Bailey Yanhong said in a delicate voice. She did not realize that her tone of voice when talking to Lin Dong had started to change a little. Previously, she would never have used this tone of voice to speak to Lin Dong. Lin Dong was speechless in his heart. Beautiful thing? If you let me enjoy myself to my heart's content, that would be a beautiful thing. However, with his eyes closed and being thrown down in mid-air, it would not be a beautiful thing, but rather a thing that would make people feel uncomfortable. However, Lin Dong did not dare to say this. Sister Hong misunderstood. I just think that with your strength, can I help you with anything else myself other than this? Can. I'm looking for you this time for something else. Sister Hong, please speak. As long as I can do it, I will definitely try my best. When I was just checking my body, I realized that I don't know when someone planted a spirit seed in my body, and with my current spiritual strength, I'm not capable of removing it yet, so I hope that you'll use your powerful spiritual strength to help me get rid of it. Being planted with a spiritual seed? Who is it? What is the purpose? Lin Dong asked in confusion. Although he now had strong spiritual power, his understanding of spiritual power was still at the most elementary stage. In the past, he had actually used his spiritual power to invade other people's minds and control their lives and deaths. I also don't know who did it, but it shouldn't have any good intentions. The purpose is to spy on me. Bailey Yanhong replied, then what should I do? You just need to release your powerful spiritual power, follow the guidance of my spiritual power and reach the location of that spiritual seed in my body, then wrap it and move it out of my body. Good. Then let's get started here. Lin Dong released his spiritual energy after he finished speaking, then followed Bailey Yanhong's tug and reached her body to find that spiritual seed. It was just so peacefully hidden inside Bailey Yanhong's plump body. The moment he saw it, Lin Dong had a sudden intuition in his heart that it was left behind by a man. Wasn't the 7-colored glazed sect only women? That meant it was not left behind by Sister Hong's elders? This caused an inexplicable fire to rise in Lin Dong. This voluptuous body was his. No man would ever be allowed to touch it. It was like two male creatures fighting over a female creature. Lin Dong surged all of his spiritual energy towards this spiritual seed, wrapping it tightly layer by layer, ensuring that he would never give it a single chance to escape. After doing so, Lin Dong slowly moved this spirit seed. During this period, the spiritual seed also fluctuated, wanting to escape from the blockade of Lin Dong's spiritual power. However, it could not escape at all. After Lin Dong carefully moved the spiritual seed out of Bailey Yanhong's body, his spiritual force suddenly exerted full pressure to completely destroy this spiritual seed. At the same time, Star Void Realm, Shiman Continent. Shiman Fugue, who was preparing to leave the expected 7-colored continent, suddenly froze in his body, his eyes almost spitting out fire. He felt that the spirit seed he had left in Bailey Yanhong's body was completely destroyed. This meant that from now on, he could no longer sense Bailey Yanhong's situation, nor could he determine the other party's exact location. Originally, according to Shiman Fugue's plan, he first went to the 7-colored glazed sect to make things clear and get a head start. Then, according to the guidance of the spiritual seed he left in Bailey Yanhong's body, he would quickly find the other party. The man who broke Bailey Yanhong's body will be executed to the 9 clans, and finally bring Bailey Yanhong back to the 7-colored glazed sect to ask for justice. As a result, before he even started to move, the spiritual seed was extinguished, and he was now unable to determine Bailey's location and find the other party. He could only wait for Bailey Yanhong to return on her own. If she didn't bring the man back in the end, where would he look for himself? This directly disrupted all of his plans. Bastard! No matter who you are, you'd better pray that you don't get caught by me, or else I'll definitely execute all 9 of your clans, and I'll also make your life worse than death. Shiman Fugue roared angrily. Chapter 789, Enlightened. The distance between the two, the Milky Way galaxy and the Star Void Realm, was very, very far. This distance, which had completely exceeded the perception of Earth humans, could not even be measured by the specific values known on Earth. If one relied on flight, even at the speed of light, if one wanted to reach the Star Void Realm from the Milky Way galaxy, it was estimated that one would have to take hundreds of millions of years as a unit to be able to do so. And only just possible. Only Eternal Realm powerhouses who were able to tear through space and walk in another dimension could cross endless distances and arrive in a short period of time. Of course, this so-called short time was not a day or two, or 10 days and half a month. It was just a very, very short time indeed compared to the hundreds of millions of years of time relying on the speed of light. With the speed of Lin Dong and the others traveling on the Eternal Realm Giant Tortoise, it would probably take close to a year to arrive at the Star Void Realm without any delays in the middle of the journey. In the next period of time, with Lin Dong's help, Bailey Yanhong temporarily solved her body's problems. Not only had she suppressed the desire inspired by the charming body, she had also kicked out the spiritual seeds in her body that had been left behind by an unknown powerhouse. Bailey Yanhong also no longer continued her seclusion. Instead, she often came out to chat with a group of women, speaking some about the basic situation of the Star Void Realm, as well as the rules and regulations of the seven-colored glazed sect, letting them have an advanced understanding and mental preparation. The Starry Void Realm was not like the Milky Way galaxy. The difference between the two was like mud. In the Milky Way galaxy, Lin Dong was the lord of the Milky Way, and what he said was a holy decree that no one dared to refute. Yun Shi and these women were all close to Lin Dong, and with Lin Dong as their backer, their identities were naturally at the top of the Milky Way galaxy pyramid. However, it was different in the Star Void Realm. It was a 7th-level civilization. Not to mention that Lin Dong had only just stepped into the Eternal Realm. Even Bailey Yanhong, a powerhouse at the Eternal Realm Supreme level, had to be cautious when facing those bigwigs. In the Star Void Realm, only by breaking through the barrier of the Eternal Realm and becoming in existence beyond the Eternal Realm could one stand at the tip of the pyramid, pointing out the mountains and setting the rules. Yun Shi and the rest of them could only start at the lowest level when they went. However, Bailey Yanhong also said that everyone didn't need to worry too much. When they reached the Star Void Realm and joined the seven-colored glazed sect, they would be considered people with a backer. The seven-colored glazed sect was still very prestigious in the Starry Void Realm. Not only was it powerful in its own right, with several powerful people beyond the Eternal Realm in attendance, it even had marriage ties with many powerful forces. At least half of the holy maidens that the seven-colored glazed sect had cultivated over the years had married into various powerful forces. And the vast majority of them were all proper ladies who could speak their minds. There were also the various personal disciples, core disciples, and ordinary disciples under the saint daughters, and many of them had married into large and small powers. Although most of these people had their own original plans. But after all, the seven-colored glazed sect had nurtured them. Once the seven-colored glazed sect was in trouble, it was impossible for them to stand by and watch. These people all added up to a rather large force in the Astral Void Realm. Therefore, in the Astral Void Realm, usually no one would look for trouble from the seven-colored glazed sect, unless it was a mortal enemy of the seven-colored glazed sect. Time was slowly passing. There was no way to use days to calculate time when traveling through space, because there was no day or night here. At first, everyone would still keep a mental note of it. But as time passed, Lin Dong and the others did not know how many days had passed. Anyway, they slept when they were sleepy, and when they woke up, they sat together and chatted. Of all the people, only Lin Dong was the most bored. Everyone else needed to cultivate, only he did not. He only had to think about how to spend this star dollar coin. Moreover, Lin Dong did not know how to go about cultivating. At this moment, the crowd was sitting together to chat about some topics regarding the Star Void Realm and the seven-colored glazed sect. Not only was Bailey Yanhong there, even Chen Jing Zihan had come out for some rare air. After the incident in the Behemoth Galaxy, Chen Jing Zihan had discovered the inadequacy of his own strength. Recently, he had been in closed-door cultivation. In the Star Void Realm, even though he was still this strong, and there were countless others stronger than him in the Star Void Realm. But there, no one would dare to actually take a shot at him. However, in the Behemoth Galaxy, when he was surrounded by dozens of Dominator-level powerhouses, Chen Jing Zihan was truly feeling the threat of death. Had it not been for Bailey Yanhong's timely intervention, he and Lin Dong would have already become flying ashes. After escaping from the danger, Chen Jing Zihan was also painfully aware of the pain. He was bound to work hard to raise his strength up first. He did not want to be a flower in a greenhouse, always being protected by the Heavenly Star Mansion. Sooner or later, he was going to come out and be on his own. This was also the reason why Chen Jing Zihan's parents let him follow Bailey Yanhong out. It was impossible for them to guard their son forever. As the young master of the Heavenly Star Mansion, Chen Jingzihan had to learn to grow and become independent. To grow, feeling the threat of death was the fastest way. The Bailey Yanhong at that time, presumably, also had this aspect in mind, and that was why she did not strike earlier, but chose to strike at the most critical moment. Brother Chen, you have not appeared for a long time. Have you been in seclusion recently? Lin Dong casually asked. Brother Lin has no idea. I have recently been putting in my best efforts to cultivate. After the incident in the Behemoth Galaxy, I kind of figured out that we can't even mix this strength in the Behemoth Galaxy, which is a 5th level civilization, let alone in the Star Void realm. If I wasn't the young lord of the Heavenly Star Mansion, I guess it's hard enough for me to survive until now, so we still have to work hard. When will we be able to break through this barrier of the Eternal Realm and become the rule-setting powerhouse of the Star Void realm before we can relax and enjoy life? Chen Jingzihan sighed. Brother Chen is enlightened? Lin Dong said with a smile. Enlightened. Enlightened in a clear way. Thinking back to the past, I was always fulfilling my father's tasks. I never set a goal for myself. I thought that with my parents and the Celestial Star Mansion, I was the little tyrant, and no one dared to touch me. But now I realize that there are times when they are out of reach, just like this time in the Behemoth Galaxy. If it wasn't for Auntie Hong, the two of us would have already become flying ashes. It seems that Brother Chen has indeed grown up. This is a good thing. It will help you greatly in your future path. The same goes for you, Brother Lin, although you're the number one in the galaxy and no one dares to oppose you, but when you arrive at the Star Void realm, you have to be a bit more restrained, lest you provoke those big shots who can easily destroy you with a casual move of their fingers. Chen Jingzihan reminded. Thank you, Brother Chen, for reminding me. I have also climbed up from the bottom one step at a time. I know what I should do, Lin Dong said. He was not like Chen Jingzihan, who came from a noble background. Being able to go from Earth, a planet of indigenous life, to the present step by step. Not only had he rushed out of Earth, he had also rushed out of the Milky Way galaxy. Although the system had given Lin Dong tremendous help. However, his own cautious, low-profile character also took up a large part of the reason. After all, having a system did not mean invincibility. He still needed to spend a large amount of money and obtain a massive amount of divine magnificence points. If Lin Dong was that kind of arrogant and ignorant character, it was estimated that he would have already been killed by someone stronger than him or captured and sliced for study. Chapter 790, Intense Competition. It's good that Brother Lin understands. How about we have a match? Brother Lin was able to grow to his current level in a low-level civilization like the Milky Way galaxy, so when you arrive at the Star Void realm, I'm sure your talent will definitely explode, so let's compete to see who gets to the supreme level first, and whoever loses will call the winner, brother. How about that? Chen Jingzihan suddenly proposed. He was also trying to get on good terms with Lin Dong. At least they had experienced life and death together. Lin Dong was a person with a good character, very much to his liking. His talent was also not weak, and he could not even see through the heavenly star viewing technique. Born a small living planet the size of a projectile, yet he was able to grow up to become the number one person in the Milky Way galaxy. This was not something that anyone could achieve. In the future, Lin Dong's achievements might not be lower than his. As long as Lin Dong agreed this match, regardless of who lost or won, the two of them would not be able to run away from their brotherly relationship anyway. If Lin Dong could really win against him, Chen Jingzihan would also willingly call him brother. Good. Having a goal gives you motivation. Let's both of us compete and see who can reach the supreme level first. Lin Dong thought about it and agreed, as he felt that there was nothing wrong with this matter. Mainly, he also felt that Chen Jingzihan was a good person. Although he came from a prominent background and had some minor problems. However, he had a positive outlook. It was not the type of person who was unreasonable. It was still worth socializing. Moreover, compared to his cultivation speed, Lin Dong had not really been afraid of anyone. He had started from zero and had reached the current eternal realm in only a few years? If this was known, even in the Star Void realm, it would definitely shock everyone's eyes. Thinking about this, Lin Dong felt that he still needed to look for Murong Chinga before he could do so. He had already explained about Yun Shi and these people, and it was impossible for them to tell the truth about their deeds. But Murong Chinga was different. It was good that she didn't know much. Since Brother Lin agrees, then it's settled. By the way, Brother Lin, you have to work harder. Now that I'm 2 small realms ahead of you, do you need me to wait for you? Don't. You'd better hurry up and cultivate. Don't ever wait for me, it won't be long before I catch up and surpass you. Then I'll wait and see. The two of them talked happily. The crowd of women beside them didn't interrupt, waiting until they were done talking. Only then did Bailey Yanhong say, Zihan, for you to have such thoughts, it's not in vain for your mother to hand you over to me, you've gained something from this trip. Auntie Red, in the past, I was indeed a bit of an asshole, relying on being the young master of the Heavenly Star Mansion. I was so arrogant that I didn't put anyone in my eyes. This time I really woke up. Thank you Auntie Red for bringing me out and letting me experience the crisis of death, Qingjing Zihan respectfully thanked. For you to wake up is growth, Zihan, you have to know that Tianqing Mansion can have more than just a direct lineage of you, and your father has more than just a son of you. Your current status as a young mansion lord has its own reason of having a strong talent, and also the reason that your mother is the previous 7 holy maiden of my 7-colored glazed sect, but it is not stable. If you want to keep your status as a young mansion lord, and in the future, to inherit your father's Tianqing Mansion lord's position, you still need to continue to work hard in order to do so. If once you fail, what will happen to you and your mother, you should be clear in your heart. I know, Aunt Hong. Qingjing Zihan said in a deep voice. He was now the young lord of the Heavenly Star Mansion. Once he failed in the competition for the head of the mansion and was later taken over by the other Heavenly Star Mansion's direct lineage. The other party would definitely screw them to death in order to prevent them from counterattacking, and would never give them any chance to turn the tables. Many great powers were like this. To fight, one had to win, because all one faced if one lost was hell. Either you don't fight and be a mediocre person, this way you are at least safe. Bailey Yanhong continued, and as far as I know, among the direct line of the Heavenly Star Mansion, there are already people secretly plotting for the position of your young master, and the forces standing behind the other party are not weak. Your mother does not want you to continue to stay in the Star Void realm as a flower in the hothouse, so that is why she spent a huge amount of money to seek out a cosmic law enforcement officer's identity for you, and to follow me out here in the hope that you can grow. Who? Qingjing Zihan's eyes screwed up as he asked with a grave expression. He knew that Aunt Hong would not joke about such things. Since she had said it, it must be true. There were as many direct descendants of the Heavenly Star Mansion as there were people, and even his father had given birth to hundreds of sons over the course of these thousands of years. However, every single one of these guys was respectful when they saw him. Just who could it be that was secretly plotting against his identity as a young house master? Qingjing Zihan went through all the people he could think of, still unable to think of who the person Aunt Red was talking about was. When you step into the immortal level, your mother will tell you, knowing now will do you no good and will only affect your state of mind. Aunt Hong, don't worry. I won't let you and my mother down. I will definitely keep my identity as a young house master and smoothly inherit the position of Heavenly Star House Master in the future, so that you and my mother will no longer have to worry about it. Qingjing Zihan said solemnly. That's good. You have to know that you are your mother's only hope. She has injected too much of her heart and soul into you. If anything happens to you, then she probably won't be able to survive. I understand. The current Qingjing Zihan was completely devoid of the bratty, egotistical, and hangdog attitude that Lin Dong had when he first met him. What was there was maturity and steadiness. After the life and death test in the Behemoth Galaxy, coupled with the words that Bailey Yanhong had just said, it could be seen that Qingjing Zihan had truly grown. He was smart, knowing the good intentions of his mother and Aunt Hong. Everything the two did was for his good. Qingjing Zihan's father had hundreds of sons, while his mother had only one, himself. If he died, his father might be sad for a few days and then everything would be as it was. But his mother might choose to follow in his footsteps and disappear into the world together. Thus, Qingjing Zihan didn't really have much affection for his father, the current master of the Heavenly Star Mansion. All he had was admiration and a hint of fear, but for his mother, it was truly a deep respect from the bottom of his heart. Whoever dared Qingjing Zihan's mother, he would absolutely not hesitate to find the door to fight for his life. From the short conversation between Bailey Yanhong and Qingjing Zihan, it also allowed Lin Dong and Yun Shi and the others to know how cruel the competition was amongst the great powers. People like Qingjing Zihan, although they came from an illustrious and noble background, at the same time, the competition that they had to face was also quite fierce. A little bit of inattention and the consequences would be very serious. Death was actually considered one of the better endings. There were many losers that would have their combat power nullified and then imprisoned for life. This was even more unacceptable than death for them who once belonged to the Heaven's Pride. Chapter 791, The Seven Immortals. Star Void Realm. The Seven-Colored Continent. This was where the Star Void Realm's top power, the Seven-Colored Glazed Sect, was located. Today, the Seven-Colored Glazed Sect welcomed an honorable guest who had surpassed the Eternal Realm. This person was the Shiman family's old ancestor, Shiman Fuguei. In the Star Void Realm, although Eternal Realm powerhouses couldn't be said to be everywhere, they weren't exactly rare either. There were quite a few Eternal Realm powerhouses in the slightly more prestigious forces. However, most of them were at the sovereign level. There weren't many who could reach the immortal level, and every immortal level powerhouse was the mainstay of every power. As for the supreme level, it was even more rare. It was the top fighting force of a power. Bailey Yanhong was a supreme grade powerhouse. Her status in the Seven-Colored Glazed Sect was not low. And if one wanted to make a name for themselves in the Star Void Realm, to stand at the tip of the pyramid, to become one of the few who set the rules, to be worshipped and admired by countless people, one must break through the barrier of the Eternal Realm and possess strength beyond the Eternal Realm. This kind of powerhouse was like a nuclear weapon on Earth, not easily mobilized, but with a superb deterrent power. A powerhouse beyond the Eternal Realm was also something that every large power must have. If you don't have one, then sorry, no matter how many people you have or how much money you have, you can only be considered a medium-sized power. For a power, having or not having a strong person beyond the Eternal Realm was a dividing line. It was just like a country on Earth with or without nuclear weapons. The Shiman family was a large power that had a powerhouse beyond the Eternal Realm, and there was more than one. Before Shiman Fuguei, there was another Shiman old ancestor who had also crossed the barrier of the Eternal Realm early on. It was just that this Shiman family's old ancestor had once suffered a serious injury tens of thousands of years ago, and had never healed until now. To know that this level of powerhouse, the body will repair itself, it can be seen how heavy his injuries were. Only after tens of thousands of years of recuperation cannot be healed. The original Shiman family had begun to slowly decline. The Shiman continent that they occupied also had other forces begin to spy on it, ready to want to snatch it down and use it as their own forces' entrenchment. Unexpectedly, more than 1,000 years ago, Shiman Fuguei broke through the Eternal Realm barrier in one fell swoop, becoming the second Shiman family existence to surpass the Eternal Realm. This could be considered to have instantly stabilized the faltering Shiman family. Shiman Fuguei had become the newest giant in the Star Void Realm, and had been very active in the Star Void Realm for over 1,000 years. For one thing, after being in seclusion for tens of thousands of years, it was not easy to come out, so he definitely wanted to enjoy himself. Secondly, naturally, it was to once again make a name for the Shiman family, letting those forces that were secretly spying on the Shiman continent know that the current Shiman family was not one to be messed with. This was also something that every newly risen giant would do. If someone in the Star Void Realm broke through the Eternal Realm barrier, unless there were special circumstances, they wouldn't be quietly hidden. Everyone knew at least 80 to 90% of the underpinnings of the major powers from each other, not to say that they knew all of them. This was because the stronger the strength shown, it meant that more resources could be obtained in the Star Void Realm, attracting more heavenly pride to join with resources and outstanding disciples. One's own power would be able to cultivate more strong people. This was a virtuous cycle. You break through and don't show it, but quietly hide it so that no one in the outside world knows about it, and you definitely won't be able to get more benefits. Anyway, after Shiman Fuguei's breakthrough, he had a big banquet in the Shiman continent, and countless forces came to congratulate him, all sending treasures of great value. This alone made the Shiman family earn a fortune. Today, Shiman Fuguei came to the Seven-Colored Continent, not to catch up with the Seven-Colored Glazed Sect, but to ask for a statement. He wanted to ask, didn't you Seven-Colored Glazed Sect say that Bailey Yanhong was trained as an heir and wouldn't marry out? Why was she broken by a man? Is this looking down on me, Shiman Fuguei, or looking down on my Shiman family? With a gloomy face, Shiman Fuguei arrived in front of the Seven-Colored Glazed Sect's gate, looking at the majestic, and colorful magical gate in front of him, which was composed of the 7 colors of red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, and purple. Shiman Fuguei was about to enter. Immediately, he was stopped by the gatekeeper of the Seven-Colored Glazed Sect. The ones who stopped him were a large and a small one, two beauties of about 80%. One was probably in her 40s, at the right age of charm. The other was in her early to mid-20s, in the prime of her life. To be able to enter the Seven-Colored Glazed Sect, all of the women were at least 70% or above, and their talent had to be outstanding to be able to do so. One of the two was indispensable. Therefore, in the Seven-Colored Glazed Sect, it was absolutely impossible to see an ugly woman. I wonder who your excellency is. What is the purpose of coming to my seven-colored glazed sect? If you haven't received an invitation from my sect, please leave. My seven-colored glazed sect doesn't receive men at will. The older woman said. Go and tell your sect master that Shiman Fugue of the Shiman clan has come to ask the seven-colored glazed sect for a statement. Shiman Fugue said with an expressionless face. Shiman family Shiman Fugue? The two women were shaken. The gazes that looked at Shiman Fugue carried infinite admiration and respect. Shiman Fugue was the newest giant-level figure in the Star Void realm. He was also the only person to break through the Eternal Realm barrier in the Star Void realm in the last 5,000 years. This was an extraordinary big shot. 4 people at the bottom of the hierarchy like them, meeting them was a luxury. It was rumored that the other party had their eyes on Elder Yanhong, who was the head of the clan's previous 7 holy maidens. He wanted to marry Elder Yanhong as his wife. Unfortunately, it was rejected by both the sect and Elder Yanhong. Could it be that because of this matter, the other party came directly to the door to seek justice? But that was thousands of years ago. Why is it coming now? And even if Shiman Fugue broke through the barrier of the Eternal Realm and became a giant of the Star Void realm, wasn't it too arrogant for a person to come to the seven-colored Lioli sect to ask for an explanation? Could it be that he didn't know how powerful the seven-colored glazed sect was? Even if all of the Shiman family came out, the seven-colored glazed sect would still be able to make them come back with no return. Forget it, these were not things they should consider. Since the other party had come, it was better to leave it to the sect to deal with. So it's Lord Shiman, please wait, I'll report to the sect. After the older woman finished speaking, she took out a sound transmission stone and reported the situation here to the sect. The younger one, on the other hand, kept staring at Shiman Fugue. A great person who surpassed the Eternal Realm was something that many people would never see once in their lives. She could take a good look. She could go back and brag to her sisters. As soon as the executives of the seven-colored glazed sect heard that it was Shiman Fugue, the newly promoted giant, they immediately arranged for someone to come out and bring Shiman Fugue into the precious living room of the sect before reporting it to the sect leader. Soon 7 young women with at least 95 points or more, wearing 7 colors of skirts, came out from within the gate and walked up to Shiman Fugue, respectfully whispering, Lord Shiman has been waiting for a long time, please follow me. Shiman Fugue was led by the woman through the 7-colored gate and into the 7-colored glazed sect, eventually arriving at the precious living room using a 7-colored ferry. This was the highest standard of reception in the 7-colored glazed sect. However, with Shiman Fugue's strength beyond the Eternal Realm, he had the qualifications. Chapter 792, Gongsun stopped streaming. The 7 fairies were considered a very special existence in the 7-colored glazed sect. There was no need to say that they were long, each one of them had a score of 95 or more, and their figures and looks were all superb. But unfortunately, their talent was a bit lacking. If they had enough talent, they might have become one of the 7 holy maidens. Since her talent was not enough, she could only make good use of her face and figure, practicing some dances and the like, and using them to receive the VIPs of the 7-colored glazed sect. The 7 holy maidens and the 7 immortals, there was only one word difference between the two. However, the status and position were indeed worlds apart. The 7 holy maidens were existences that had the chance to become beyond the Eternal Realm, combining looks, talent, and wisdom in one. The 7 immortal maidens, on the other hand, it was much harder to even think about stepping into the Eternal Realm. They only needed to have looks. The former were the key cultivation objects of the sect. The latter were just performers for the sect's reception of VIPs. Their status was a little stronger than ordinary disciples, but they couldn't catch up with the core and personal disciples. This was the awkward position of the 7 immortal maidens. The kind of envy that flowed from their eyes when they saw the 7 fairy maidens was simply heartbreaking. The 7 immortal maidens didn't have enough talent, so if they wanted to step into the Eternal Realm, live forever, and stay young forever, they could only use countless piles of heavenly materials and treasures. However, there was no such opportunity in the 7-colored glazed sect. This was because there were too many disciples in the 7-colored glazed sect, and there were quite a few with high talent. It was impossible to waste too many resources for them. And the reason why the 7 immortals were willing to stay here. That was because the 7-colored glazed sect gave them a platform that couldn't be given anywhere else. To be able to become an honored guest of the 7-colored glazed sect, all of them were absolute big shots to qualify. When the 7 immortals received these honored guests, in case they were looked upon by some big shot and married over as a concubine. As long as the Lord was served well and cultivated with all sorts of heavenly materials and treasures at all costs, there might be a chance of stepping into the eternal realm in the future, although the chances are very low. But there were indeed people who had succeeded. This was also what they had been striving for. Thus, even the position of the 7 immortal maidens was something that they had fought for through a lot of hard work. How big was the Star Void realm? How many beautiful but untalented women were there? Not just anyone could become the 7 immortal maidens of the 7-colored glazed sect who specialized in receiving distinguished guests. Lord Sheeman, please wait, the sect master will be here soon, let us first dance for you to relieve your fatigue. After the 7 immortal maidens finished speaking, they began to dance beautifully in the noble parlor. One by one, they were like fairies descending to the earth, truly pleasing to the eyes. Some women carrying various snacks, drinks, and precious food then entered the noble parlor and placed the plates in their hands in front of Shiman Fugue for him to eat. Shiman Fugue also had no problem drinking the small wine, eating the snacks, and enjoying the dance of the 7 nymphs. These 7 women were indeed good. The body sizes and looks were all superb. When the business is done, asking 2 of them to go back as concubines is not bad at all. Shiman Fugue had already taken dozens of concubines in this 1,000 years. After a dance, the 7 nymphs bowed to Shiman Fugue and exited the noble parlor. When they were leaving, the way they looked at Shiman Fugue was so charming. It made Shiman Fugue, a veteran driver who had been in the battlefield for a long time, a little tickled. Can't wait to directly pull over and pamper her. Unfortunately, this was the 7-colored glazed sect, not a place where he could mess around. Not long after the 7 immortals left, a beautiful woman who at first glance looked a bit like she was in her 40s, but at a closer look was only in her 30s, walked in. Behind her were 2 beautiful women in their 40s and 50s. This was the current patriarch of the 7-colored glazed sect, Gongsun Shimeng. As for the 2 people behind her, they were the 2 elders of the 7-colored glazed sect, and their status was comparable to Bailey Yanhong. Lord Shiman has come to visit, he should have notified me first, so that I can prepare properly. This time it is my 7-colored glazed sect that has been slow, please forgive Lord Shiman. Gongsun Shimeng said politely as soon as she entered. Although she was the current patriarch of the 7-colored glazed sect, her status was very high, even in this Star Void realm, she ranked high. However, Shiman Fugue was, after all, the only newly promoted giant in the Star Void realm in these thousands of years. This was an existence beyond the eternal realm. And she, Gongsun Shimeng, was only at the peak of the eternal realm supreme level. Don't look at the fact that there was only a step difference between the 2 sides. This tiny step could stop 99% of supreme level peaks. It was hard to say whether Gongsun Shimeng would be able to cross the step in this life. However, in the face of Shiman Fugue, the newly promoted giant, Gongsun Shimeng did not act groveling. Her status was placed there and did not allow her to do so. Sect leader Stop Dream is polite, this time I also came to the 7-colored glazed sect to take a look on an impromptu basis, please forgive me for disturbing your sect. Shiman Fugue also replied politely. The current him was not as untouchable as when he was just outside the 7-colored glazed sect's main gate. At that time, he was only facing 2 gatekeepers of the 7-colored glazed sect, so he naturally had to show the demeanor that a big shot should have. Now, he was facing Gongsun Shimeng, the current patriarch of the 7-colored glazed sect, although the other party was not as strong as him. But behind the other party stood the entire 7-colored glazed sect. In the 7-colored glazed sect's forbidden land, there were 4 powerful people who had surpassed the eternal realm. One of them was Bailey Yanhong's master. Such a powerful sect. Shiman Fugue wouldn't dare to make a move. However, this time he had come with the word reason. Lord Shiman, I wonder what is your business in coming to the 7-colored glazed sect this time? I heard from the gatekeepers that you have come to ask for an explanation from this clan? If there is anything that my 7-colored glazed sect has done wrong, please point it out to Lord Shiman and we will definitely correct it. Gongsun Shimeng went straight to the point. What should be done had already been done. Sending out the 7 fairies to receive Shiman Fugue. It was already considered giving the other party enough face. She also didn't want to continue being polite. There were still a lot of things waiting for her to deal with in the 7-colored glazed sect. Patriarch Stop Dream, I did come here this time because I wanted to ask for a statement from your sect. Shiman Fugue said with a straight face. Lord Shiman, please speak. I wonder if Patriarch Stop Dream remembers that more than 1,000 years ago, I had just broken out of the gate and came to your sect, where I met Bailey Yanhong and wanted to make her my Shiman Fugue's main wife, only to be met with a stern rejection from your sect. Naturally, I remember. Elder Yanhong is the first of the 7 holy daughters of the upper realm of my sect. Her talent is strangely high, and it only took her a mere 1,000 years to reach the supreme level, and my sect is also preparing to cultivate her as an heir, so she will not be married off. Gongsun Jiming replied. That means if your sect doesn't betroth Bailey Yanhong to me, it won't betroth her to anyone else either? That's for sure. I have said that Elder Yanhong will not marry outside the sect, she will remain in the sect. Then why is Bailey Yanhong broken by another man now? Shiman Fugui questioned with a hint of anger. Chapter 793 How is it good? What? Shiman Fugui's words caused Gongsun Jiming and the 2 7-colored glazed sect elders behind her to be shocked in their hearts. Elder Yanhong was broken by a man? How was this possible? Wasn't she sent out on a mission as a cosmic enforcer? How could she have her body broken? Something was not right. Elder Yanhong wasn't even in the Star Void realm, so how would Shiman Fugui know that she was broken? Gongsun Jiming suspiciously turned her gaze towards Shiman Fugui, only to see the other party's calm face. This made Gongsun Jiming somewhat unable to determine the truth of the matter. With Shiman Fugui's status and strength, he would never say anything without certainty, otherwise, he would be making a fool of himself. Since he said it directly to the door, then there must be some certainty. But Elder Yanhong was indeed not in the Star Void realm. Was there some kind of misunderstanding in the middle? Lord Shiman, Elder Yanhong was sent out on a mission by our sect and is not in the Star Void realm now. Is there some misunderstanding in between? Gongsun Jiming voiced the doubts in his heart. Misunderstanding? There is no misunderstanding. Patriarch, stop dream. Since I, Shiman Fugui, dared to put my words out there, naturally I am sure of it. I just want to ask, you guys strictly refused me in the beginning, saying that Bailey Yanhong wouldn't be married out, but now she was broken by a man. Why is that? Is it because you look down on me, Shiman Fugui, or because you look down on my Shiman family? Shiman Fugui spoke in a very displeased tone. As the newest giant of the Star Void realm, an existence that surpassed the eternal realm, he would not be stingy when it was time to show his powerful demeanor. It was the same even if the other party was the patriarch of the 7-colored glazed sect. Lord Shiman, the truth of this matter is still up for debate. It's not that my 7-colored glazed sect doesn't believe in you, everything has to be about evidence, unless you come up with evidence that convinces us today, or else you'll have to wait for Elder Yanhong to come back and then confront him face to face. Don't worry, as long as Lord Shiman's words are true, my 7-colored glazed sect will naturally give you a satisfactory explanation, and won't let you lose face in the Star Void realm. Lose face? Gongsun Jiming said in an unassuming manner. Facing Shiman Fugui, a powerhouse beyond the eternal realm, Gongsun Jiming displayed the 7-colored glazed sect's attitude of dealing with matters that was neither afraid of nor looking for trouble. You say that the 7-colored glazed sect has lost face to you, Shiman Fugui, that's fine. But you must come up with convincing evidence to do so. Otherwise, you're just looking for trouble. You don't have the 7-colored glazed sect in your sights. What Gongsun Jiming said could be said to be dripping with water, making it impossible for Shiman Fugui to find a single fault. But since he dared to come, he naturally had certainty. It was just that his methods were a bit dishonorable. Patriarch, stop dream. First of all, I want to apologize to the 7-colored glazed sect, because I like Bailey Yanhong too much, so during a contact, I quietly planted a spirit seed in her without her consent, but I, Shiman Fugui, guarantee on my own honor that I absolutely have no intention of harming her, and only wanted to protect her. The moment Shiman Fugui said this, a cold light immediately shot out from Gongsun Jiming's eyes. His eyes stared at Shiman Fugui with some mischief. Daring to plant a spiritual seed on an elder of the 7-colored glazed sect who held an important position was no small matter. Even if the other party was Shiman Fugui, a superpower beyond the eternal realm. No matter how powerful you are, Shiman Fugui is only one person, and even if you add that old ancestor of the Shiman clan who was in seclusion to recuperate from his injuries, there are only 2 of them. By what right would you dare to do this to an elder of the 7-colored glazed sect? Shiman Fugui probably also felt that what he did was a bit unorthodox. Continuing to open his mouth, he explained, Patriarch, stop dream. Since being rejected by your 7-colored glazed sect, in the past 1,000 years, I, Shiman Fugui, have not had any dissatisfaction, and I completely respect your status choices, and the spirit seed is not what you think it is. It can play a monitoring role at any time, anywhere, and can only roughly determine Bailey Yanhong's location and understand whether or not she is safe, and that's all. Gongsun Jiming sniffed. Naturally he wouldn't believe the nonsense Shiman Fugui was saying. If what he said was true. spirit seeds could only determine location and understand safety. Then how did he determine that Elder Yanhong was broken? But Gongsun Jiming was not in the mood to pursue these at the moment. Because she had something more important to do. That was to determine whether or not Elder Yanhong's body had been broken was true. This was very, very important to the seven-colored glazed sect. It might even affect the seven-colored glazed sect's next plans. Lord Shiman, do you mean to say that you know that Elder Yanhong has been broken by a man at this moment through the spiritual seed planted in Elder Yanhong's body? Gongsun Jiming asked with a slightly hurried tone. Precisely. Shiman Fuguei replied. Are you sure? Gongsun Jiming continued to ask, his tone having raised significantly. Of course I'm sure. I, Shiman Fuguei, can take responsibility for what I say. Shiman Fuguei said seriously. Receiving an affirmative answer from the other party. Gongsun Jiming stopped speaking. But underneath the calm face. But it hid the monstrous waves that had risen in her heart. Elder Yanhong was broken by a man? Then her charming body was also broken? This. How can this be? Bailey Yanhong was the next key cultivation object of the seven-colored glazed sect, the sect's current most hopeful to surpass the eternal realm. On top of that, she was also the charmed body, one of the most specialized physiques in the universe. Regarding the specifics of the charming body, Gongsun Jiming didn't know much. She only knew that once Bailey Yanhong was broken by a man, the consequences would be unimaginable. Not only would the charming body be destroyed, resulting in a much slower cultivation speed and a drastic decrease in the chances of breakthrough, but it would also create a very large desire in her body. The key is that this desire cannot be completely eliminated, will be accompanied by her life until death. At any time, Elder Yanhong would need to spend most of her energy to suppress it. In other words, Bailey Yanhong's chances of breaking through the barrier of the eternal realm plummeted, not to mention that from now on, her combat power would also be greatly reduced. This was not a good thing for the seven-colored glazed sect. It was also for this reason that the seven-colored glazed sect had severely rejected Shiman Fuguei's marriage proposal in the first place, and had told him that Bailey Yanhong would not marry out. This matter was already beyond the ability of Gongsun Jiming, the patriarch. She must report it to the four supreme elders as soon as possible. Let them make a decision on how exactly to handle it. Alas! Gongsun Jiming had already thought about how disappointed the four supreme elders would be when she told them about this. Especially Elder Yanhong Sr. Her elder had injected a lot of heart and soul into Elder Yanhong. Seeing that Elder Yanhong had already moved forward step by step in the direction everyone was expecting. Unexpectedly, such an accident had occurred. Now one could only hope that it was a misunderstanding. Shiman Fuguei had perceived an inaccuracy. But this situation was minimal, since Shiman Fuguei dared to come directly to the seven-colored glazed sect to say such words, then he must have certainty. Otherwise, wouldn't this be lifting a stone and stoning his own foot? At that time, it wouldn't be the seven-colored glazed sect giving him an argument, but rather he would have to give the seven-colored glazed sect an explanation. Chapter 794, Supreme Elder. Gongsun Jiming still couldn't figure it out. It was impossible for Bailey Yanhong not to know her own situation. Her charming body would definitely harm people and herself once she had intercourse with a man. By all rights, she shouldn't really become attached to a man and then break her body. As for being forced, that would be even more impossible. This time, Bailey Yanhong was sent by the sect to carry out the mission of the cosmic enforcers. It seemed that she had also brought the young master of the Heavenly Star Mansion with her. The places they went to, those were low to medium level civilizations. With Bailey Yanhong's supreme level strength, who could force her? Even in this star void realm, a supreme level is a top expert. Not to mention in a low to medium level civilization. In the face of absolute strength, any plots and tricks were futile. Unless there was a powerhouse beyond the eternal realm like Shiman Fuguei, secretly spying on Bailey Yanhong. They did not dare to make a move in the star void realm. So he waited until Bailey Yanhong left the star void realm before tailing her. This possibility was not unknown. But it is very low. Strength can reach beyond the eternal realm. It is impossible that they would risk so much for a woman. What kind of woman do they want that they don't have? There is absolutely no need to do this. Even if Gongsun Ji dreamed his head off, he couldn't figure out what was going on. Want to know the truth? I guess I can only wait for Bailey Yanhong to return. Lord Shiman, since you planted a spirit seed in Elder Yanhong's body, you must know where Elder Yanhong is now, right? Gongsun Shiming asked. Originally I knew, but in the recent past, the one spirit seed I planted has been eliminated. All the current location of Bailey Yanhong, I'm not too sure. Shiman Fuguwei said truthfully. Gongsun Shiming froze upon hearing this news. The spirit seed planted by Shiman Fuguwei had been eliminated? There wouldn't really be a powerhouse beyond the eternal realm trailing Elder Yanhong. Culled? It can't be. Lord Shiman, who is able to cull the spirit seed planted by a powerhouse beyond the eternal realm like you? Gongsun Stop Dream was clearly a bit disbelieving. Patriarch Stop Dream, as I said, the spirit seed I planted for Bailey Yanhong did not have any malicious intent. All it did was just carry a trace of my own spiritual power. Even with your current spiritual power, it can be easily resolved. Therefore, being culled by someone with a slightly stronger spiritual power is not worth being surprised by. Gongsun Shiming wasn't going to discuss this topic anymore and didn't want to dwell on it with Shiman Fuguwei. She had to quickly tell the four supreme elders this news and ask them to make a decision. Lord Shiman, we can't listen to your side of the story and jump to conclusions on this matter. We still need to wait for Elder Yanhong to return before we can be sure. You can stay in the seven-colored glazed sect for some time. I'll report back to the supreme elders here and then issue a recall order to Elder Yanhong, so that she can come back as soon as possible. If everything is as you say, our sect will definitely give you a satisfactory answer. Good. Then I will wait here. Let's see what Bailey Yanhong, will explain when she returns. Gongsun Shiming arranged for Shiman Fuguwei to reside in the seven-colored glazed sect's VIP area. Then she hoofed it to the seven-colored glazed sect's forbidden area. It was also the place where the four supreme elders beyond the eternal realm lived in seclusion. Gongsun Shiming took her sovereign's order and passed through the heavy formations to arrive outside a valley. She did not immediately step into the valley. Instead, she stood outside the valley and respectfully shouted, "The current patriarch of the seven-colored glazed sect, Gongsun Shiming, has important matters to ask for an audience with the four supreme elders." Soon a voice came out from the valley. "Little Dream is here, come in first." "Yes." Taishan elders. Gongsun Shiming finished speaking before slowly stepping into the valley. This place was filled with birdsong and flowers, a complete scene of a paradise beyond the world. There were countless various cherished medicinal herbs, precious plants and animals. Each one of them would be astronomically priced if they were taken to the outside. In the center of the valley, there were several clean and tidy cabins. Passing through the crystal clear stream as well as several blooming gardens, Gongsun Shiming arrived in front of the several cabins. Along the way, she was extremely careful, afraid of stepping on a small plant or a small animal. In this valley, even a small plant, taken outside, it was something extraordinary. Gongsun Shiming didn't stand outside the door for long. Crunch! The door of a wooden house opened from the inside. A plainly dressed old crone then walked out from within the wooden house. This person was one of the four supreme elders of the seven-colored glazed sect. It was also a superpower who had surpassed the eternal realm. It was a renowned existence in the star void realm. Seeing the old crone, Gongsun Shiming immediately prepared to kneel on the ground. As a result, she was blocked by an energy that prevented her from kneeling. She knew that this supreme elder didn't like others kneeling, so she didn't insist anymore. Just slightly bending down, she respectfully said, "Gongsun Shiming has met the supreme elder." "Little Dream, ah. It's been a long time since you came to see us old guys," the old crone said with a smile. Although she looked old, she spoke and acted very well, not showing her old age at all. "Supreme Elder, Little Dream also wants to come to accompany you guys, but there are a lot of things going on in the clan lately. I can't do anything about it. If you guys hurry up and find a replacement for me as the patriarch, Little Dream will be able to be here every day to accompany you guys." You. All the other forces are fighting to the death. I don't know why one or two of you are giving way. Neither of you are willing to be this sovereign. The old crone said helplessly, "This is the only way to reflect the uniqueness of our seven-colored glazed sect." Gongsun Shiming laughed. "All right. Don't be a poor talker, tell us what's the reason for coming here." "Supreme Elder, just now the Shiman family's newest giant, Shiman Fuguwei, came to our door and said that he wants our sect to give a statement." "Shiman family Shiman Fuguwei? That's the guy who came to the door wanting Xiaohan to be his proper wife after he had just made a breakthrough over 1,000 years ago?" "Exactly him." "To claim?" What kind of argument is he asking from my 7-colored glazed sect from a guy who just advanced and hasn't even stabilized his own strength? The old crone asked suspiciously. Back to the elder, the matter is like this. Gongsun Shiming carefully told the matter. From the time Shimun Fugue came to the 7-colored glazed sect and said that he had quietly planted a spirit seed for Bailey Yanhong. To the point where he knew that Bailey Yanhong had been broken through the feedback of the spirit seed, and subsequently the spirit seed was removed. At first there were various noisy sounds coming out of the valley. They were all sounds made by some cherished animals. But as Gongsun Jiming spoke more and more in depth, the atmosphere in the valley began to become grave. These cherished animals were all spiritual. They didn't dare to make any more sounds after realizing that their master's mood was a bit off. By the time Gongsun Jiming finished telling the matter, the entire valley was so silent that not even the sound of breathing could be heard. Chapter 795, Gongru Plan. The atmosphere in the valley was grave to the extreme. Even the air was filled with a solemn killing intent. This old crone was no other than Bailey Yanhong's master teacher, the Gongru Clan. One of the 4 great supreme elders of the 7-colored glazed sect. It was also an existence that surpassed the eternal realm. This was not something that could be compared to a guy like Shimun Fugue who had just made a breakthrough and his realm had not even been stabilized yet. Gongrus had already surpassed the eternal realm nearly 100,000 years ago. Shimun Fugue hadn't even been born at that time. Even if Shimun Fugue had already broken through the barrier of the eternal realm and reached a realm that countless people could only dream of, he still had to lower his posture in front of Gongrus and respectfully address him as Senior Gong. After listening to Gongsun Jiming's narration, Gongru's entire being was in a state of a volcano about to erupt. She had worked so hard, spent so much effort, and managed to cultivate a satisfactory disciple, but she was actually broken by a man, causing the charming body to be broken, and ultimately losing all her efforts. How could she accept this? Gongrus now couldn't wait to immediately appear by Bailey Yanhong's side to see what was going on. Which man was it that made this dead girl prefer to disregard her master's orders and willingly sacrifice her body? Or maybe it was which man had eaten the dragon's heart and phoenix guts and dared to forcibly break the body of her Gongru clan's personal disciple, letting all her efforts go down the drain. Regardless of which case it was, this man was already a must-kill in Gongru clan's heart. Even if he was a powerhouse beyond the eternal realm, she would still make the other party pay the price he deserved. This current situation had completely disrupted the 7-colored glazed sect's plans. Bailey Yanhong was not just an elder or heir of the 7-colored glazed sect. She also had a very important mission. It was just that Bailey Yanhong did not know it yet. When she transcends the eternal realm, it will be time to fulfill this mission. But the prerequisite must be that she still has a complete charming body now, according to Gongsun Shimung. Bailey Yanhong's charming body had been broken, meaning that her mission could no longer be completed. This was a very huge blow to the 7-colored glazed sect, and to the 4 of their supreme elders. Gongrus couldn't accept the news for a while and stood in front of the wooden house without speaking. It was as if time and space within the entire valley had frozen. At this moment, Gongsun Jiming felt as if she was in a 1,000-year-old Jedi, and the slightest movement of her body would result in her being immediately killed on the spot. However, she had long predicted that such a situation would occur after the Supreme Elder learned of this news. That was why even her breathing was temporarily stopped now, deeply afraid of disturbing the other party. The various rare animals in the valley that were full of spirituality also felt this solemn killing intent. They all immediately found a hidden corner to hide in, not daring to make a sound. It was quiet like this for a moment. Only then did Gongrus open her mouth and asked, "Little dream, can everything you just said be true?" "Supreme Elder, how could I dare to talk nonsense about this? Shimun Fugue is still in the 7-colored glazed sect. If you don't believe me, you can go ask him directly." Gongsun Jiming replied. "Then how is Little Red's flame of life? Has there been any weakening going on?" "No. Before I came, I went to see it and also asked the gatekeepers who were watching over it. Elder Yanhong's flame of life has always been in a very vigorous state, and it hasn't weakened in the slightest." "Then that means she hasn't encountered any danger but has been broken?" Gongru felt that she was already on the verge of suppressing the anger in her heart. Bailey Yanhong's flame of life had always been in a vigorous state. Then she hadn't been in danger and no one had forced her. All of this was of her own volition? Bailey Yanhong was watched by Gongrus and had always been taught by her at a very early stage. Bailey Yanhong had known about her special situation of being in a charmed body. In Gongru's opinion, it was still very unlikely that Bailey Yanhong would defy all odds and be with a man. But Shiman Fugue, as a powerhouse beyond the eternal realm, it was even more unlikely that he would joke about such a thing. Unless he, the Shiman family, wanted to completely tear his face off with the seven-colored glazed sect. And the Shiman family did not yet possess this strength. Even if the Shiman ancestor was recovering from his injuries, the Shiman clan would not be able to fight against the seven-colored glazed sect. The Gongru clan, an existence that had already surpassed the eternal realm nearly 100,000 years ago, was also in deep doubt at this moment. What exactly was the truth like? Was it voluntary? Or was it forced? Or was it Shiman Fugue lying? Supreme Elder. There's something fishy about this matter. It's impossible for Elder Yanhong to be unaware of her own situation. You know her. I think the possibility of her doing such a thing is almost non-existent. You mean Shiman Fugue lied? What about his reason for lying? Shiman Fugue shouldn't have spoken, he doesn't have the guts. It's possible that there was some kind of misunderstanding that led to this. To know the truth of the matter, one should immediately send out an emergency recall order from the clan to Elder Yanhong. As long as she comes back, everything will be understood. Gongru clan felt that Gongsun Jiming had a point. Instead of speculating here, it would be better to directly recall Bailey Yanhong. Right now the truth was only known to her. Good. Then you will immediately send out the clan's emergency recall order to Xiaohong, tell her to rush back as fast as she can, and contact me at any time when you have news. This matter is related to the clan's next plan, it's very important, and you mustn't be the slightest bit negligent. Obey the order of the Supreme Elder. Alright. You go down first. Get things done as soon as possible. Yes. Supreme Elder, little dream will leave. Gongsun Jiming finished speaking and respectfully exited the valley, once again passing through the layers of formations and returning within the seven-colored glazed sect. Since Bailey Yanhong was not in the Starvoid realm, but rather in some other low to medium-level civilization that was an endless distance away, ordinary contact information was simply unable to reach her. Only by using the sect's special means would there be a chance to pass the news to Bailey Yanhong. This was not absolute. If Bailey Yanhong was trapped in some formation relics, it was also possible that she would not be able to receive the news. Gongsun Jiming combined with a few other elders and executed a secret method to send out the seven-colored glazed sect emergency recall order to Bailey Yanhong. Any sect member who received this sect emergency recall order must rush back to the sect as fast as possible. An illusory blood-colored token then shot out from the seven-colored glazed sect after absorbing a trace of Bailey Yanhong's breath of the flame of life. It broke away from the bondage of this space and headed directly towards Bailey Yanhong's direction. The speed of this illusory red token was so fast that it was not bound by space at all, and even a powerhouse like Shiman Fugue, who was beyond the eternal realm, could only look at the back of it. Chapter 796, Sect Emergency Recall Order. Gongru clan did not return within the wooden house after Gongsun Jiming left. This valley was not so much a place where their four supreme elders lived in seclusion as it was a place where they sat in control of the seven-colored glazed sect. Whenever something arose in the seven-colored glazed sect that the patriarch could not decide on, they would come here to find them. Just like what happened this time. Although this kind of thing was almost a rare occurrence. But in order to avoid not being able to find someone to solve it after it appeared, the four of them, the supreme elders, would take turns sitting here. The other three of them, on the other hand, would be in seclusion in a top-secret place. This time, the matter of Bailey Yanhong's charming body being broken was very important. It was related to the plan that the four of them had formulated. It was important to let the other three know. If it was determined to be true at that time, there was still a way to make up for it. Gongru's body slowly disappeared into the valley. When she reappeared, she had already arrived in a huge cave. There were 9 stone pillars propped up around the cave. A lifelike 5-clawed golden dragon was carved on top of each stone pillar. If one did not look closely, one would think that it was 9 real 5-clawed golden dragons wrapped around the stone pillars. In the middle of the cave, there was a cold pool, and the water inside was bubbling with a slight chill. On each of the 9 stone pillars, 9 chains stretched out, penetrating deep into the cold pool. Gongru stood in the cave and opened her mouth. There is a change in plan. Little Red's charming body may have been broken. Her words had just exited. An exasperated voice immediately rang out from the cave. What? Little Red's charmed body has been broken? Who did this? As soon as the voice fell, 3 figures appeared in the cavern. Like Gongru's, these three figures all had the appearance of an old crone, and it was one of them who spoke. It's not clear who did it. We can only wait for Little Red to come back before we know. Little Dream has already sent her an emergency recall order from the sect. I believe it won't take long for her to come back, Gongru's replied. This is no small matter, third sister, are you sure? The other crone opened her mouth and asked. Although we can't be completely sure, it's at least half possible. Let's just prepare for the next step first. Prepare? Prepare how? How many years have we waited? It looks like we're close to success. Why would there be such an accident? There's no telling when we'll need to wait until the next time. The last old crone said. Her face at the moment was a bit hideous, allowing ordinary people to see it would definitely send shivers down their spines. However, the other three didn't feel anything, as if they were already used to it. Fourth sister, calm down. You have said that we have been waiting for so many years. It's nothing even if we wait a little longer, and isn't it not confirmed? Then let's talk about it when it's confirmed. Third sister will go out first and wait for news. Let us know anytime. Good. Gongru replied. All four of their figures then disappeared into the cave. Gongru's, on the other hand, returned to the valley and quietly waited for Gongsun Jiming's news. Just like what Big Sister said, after determining Bailey Yanhong's situation, they could then arrange their next plan. As time passed, the giant tortoise was already slowly approaching the outskirts of the Star Void realm. During this time, Bailey Yanhong requested Lin Dong to help her once more. Lin Dong naturally would not refuse. It was as if he was expecting it in his heart. The two of them entered the mental illusion realm. It was still Lin Dong who closed his eyes and enjoyed Bailey Yanhong's plump body. However, after reaching a state of yin and yang harmonization, Bailey Yanhong was the first to break away from the spiritual illusion realm. It allowed Lin Dong to once again experience the feeling of being thrown down in midair. Finding Yinshi to solve the problem was again not allowed, and he was not allowed to release it in the spiritual illusion realm. He also preferred to provoke him into burning with desire. Lin Dong had already made up his mind in his heart. If the next time Bailey Yanhong asked him to help, he must make his own request. No matter what, he must let him take the initiative himself for once. Just like the first spirit mating, let him be comfortable at least once. Otherwise, he would strike and quit himself. Or just come on strong when the time comes. It wasn't like he hadn't done it much anyway. After thinking about this, Lin Dong still helplessly accepted reality and got up to take a cold shower. Bailey Yanhong was sitting in her room, a little dazed. Just now, after the spiritual intermingling with Lin Dong, she felt that her spiritual power had grown significantly again. It seemed that her spiritual power had not increased because her charming body had been broken, but because she had engaged in spiritual intermingling with Lin Dong. Then would her spiritual power grow by leaps and bounds if she did this with Lin Dong every day? Bailey Yanhong could not help but blush as she thought. For a supreme-level powerhouse who was about to reach the peak of the eternal realm, the increase in spiritual power was undoubtedly a huge temptation. It was a knocker to break through the barrier of the eternal realm. A strong person like Bailey Yanhong. Reaching the peak of the eternal realm was almost a nail in the coffin, and it would take nothing more than a little bit of time. And that time wouldn't be too long. But the growth of spiritual power was unattainable. Spiritual power could not reach the standard. It would never be possible to break through. Most eternal realm peaks were stuck at this step because of insufficient spiritual power, delaying their breakthrough now that there was such an opportunity, if one did not grasp it. Bailey Yanhong felt that she would definitely regret it in the future. Besides, anyway, having already had 3 spiritual interludes with Lin Dong, it did not matter if there were 10 or 8 more times, or even dozens of times. Women were like this. Once they have had the first time, even if it is many more times afterward, it is all acceptable. It was just that what made Bailey Yanhong a bit torn was the time between this time and the last time was a bit long, so if she immediately looked for Lin Dong again, it seemed a bit unreasonable. At that time, it would not be good if she made Lin Dong misunderstand. Bailey Yanhong did not want Lin Dong to think that she was a lustful woman. How could she allow Lin Dong to engage in spiritual intercourse with herself at any time? What about making one's spiritual power increase rapidly? This was an issue that needed to be considered properly. By engaging in spiritual intermingling with Lin Dong, not only would she be able to increase her spiritual power, she would also be able to experience the pleasure of being a woman. That feeling was indeed somewhat unforgettable. However, it seemed that both times, when she had gotten comfortable and her body had reached a state of yin and yang harmonization, she had interrupted Lin Dong, who was in the midst of his excitement. Thinking of this, a smile appeared at the corner of Bailey Yanhong's mouth. Who made Lin Dong force himself without her consent the first time? It was also so rude. This was his punishment. If he agreed to help her increase her spiritual energy, then she would forgive him and give him some sweetness. Bailey Yanhong was prepared to find some time to directly show her cards to Lin Dong. She also did not want to go to that trouble of finding what the excuse was. Let's just say that doing so would allow her spiritual power to grow rapidly, and in the future, she would be able to break through the eternal realm and reach a higher realm. At this moment, a red light suddenly flashed before Bailey Yanhong's eyes. An illusory red token was imprinted into her forehead. Chapter 797, Eternal Realms Heavenly Tribulation. The moment the illusory red token was imprinted into Bailey Yanhong's forehead, a voice resounded in her head. Return quickly. The owner of the voice was none other than the current patriarch of the seven-colored glazed sect, Gongsun Jimeng. As one of the elders of the seven-colored glazed sect, Bailey Yanhong naturally knew what this illusory red token was. The seven-colored glazed sect emergency recall order. It was cast with a secret technique, and then utilized the flame of life left in the sect as a guide to send it out towards the target. It was able to cross the limitations of layers of space and quickly reach the target. Anyone who receives it must rush back to the sect as fast as possible. In fact, even if they did not receive the clan's emergency recall order, Bailey Yanhong would still quickly rush back to the clan. The charming body had already been completely aroused, and she had to find her master to see how she could solve the problem with her body. However, at this time, Bailey Yanhong was also very puzzled in her heart. Logically, right now, she was carrying out an inspection mission in her capacity as an enforcer. The sect was not supposed to send her an emergency recall order from the sect at this time. Could it be that something unexpected had happened in the sect? This was impossible. Bailey Yanhong directly dismissed this idea. The strength of the seven-colored glazed sect, in the entire Star Void realm, it was a top-tier power. It possessed 4 supreme elders who had surpassed the eternal realm. How could there be an accident? Then what exactly could it be that would cause the sect master to recall her even at the expense of performing a secret technique? Bailey Yanhong really couldn't figure it out. Unless there was something very important happening in the sect, only then would the sect recall order be issued to the sect members who were out on a mission. Forget it, don't think about it, go back first. Anyway, it was not far from the Star Void realm. So far, the giant tortoise had already crossed 2/3 of the distance. Bailey Yanhong was torn in her heart. We will soon be arriving at the Star Void realm. Should I go to find Lin Dong or not? If I don't go, when I arrive at the Star Void realm and reach the seven-colored glazed sect, I won't have such a good opportunity. But if she went, how should she bring it up to Lin Dong? With such a thought, another few days passed in the outside world, seeing that it was getting closer and closer to the Star Void realm. Bailey Yanhong's heart became ruthless, and with a clench of her silver teeth, she finally decided to go and find Lin Dong. It was a matter of whether or not she could become able to cross the heavenly gap of the eternal realm in the future, so no matter what she gave, it was worth it. It was believed that even if her master knew about it, he would not blame her. Moreover, there was no real physical contact, it was just in a mental illusion, and it was not the first time. Since her heart had already decided, Bailey Yanhong then no longer hesitated. However, she did not directly approach the door, but instead transmitted her voiceover. Lin Dong was gathering with Yun Shi and the girls to chat and relieve their boredom. Bailey Yanhong's voice suddenly appeared in his mind. Lin Dong, go back to your room. I have something to find you. Lin Dong was somewhat puzzled. Wasn't this just completed a few days ago? Could it have been suppressed again? It couldn't be. There was such a long interval last time. How could he not be able to suppress it after only a few days this time? Although his mind was puzzled, Lin Dong still followed what Bailey Yanhong said. However, Lin Dong still did as Bailey Yanhong said. He greeted Yun Shi and the girls and told them to chat first before returning to his room. Just after returning to his room, Bailey Yanhong's voice sounded once again. Lin Dong, I need your help. Sister Hong, it's only been a few days? How come it can't be suppressed again? Lin Dong asked doubtfully. It was not that he was unwilling to help. It was just that the feeling of falling from midair every single time was just too much to handle. It's not this matter. Not this matter? Then what is it about? Bailey Yanhong was still a bit hard to say. It was only after about half a minute of silence that she mustered up the courage to speak. Lin Dong, every time after I engage in spiritual intermingling with you, I have found that my spiritual power will increase drastically, and spiritual power is very, very important for a supreme-level powerhouse who is about to reach the peak of the Eternal Sword, and this relates to whether or not I will be able to break through the heavenly pillar of the Eternal Realm in one fell swoop in the future, and become a higher level of existence, so I hope that you can help me so that my spiritual power can grow up quickly. Lin Dong was speechless in his heart when he heard this. Spirit intermingling could still enhance spiritual power? Then why didn't his own grow in the slightest? Moreover, listening to Bailey Yanhong's words, she wanted to have a few more spirit intermingles as a way to enhance her spiritual power. This couldn't be done. Every time he was thrown down from midair by the other party, this feeling of holding back his pee halfway through the day was something that Lin Dong no longer wanted to experience. So he pretended not to understand and asked, Sister Hong, then how can I help you? Bailey Yanhong was stumped by the question. She herself had said it so clearly. She did not believe that Lin Dong did not understand what he meant by what he said. This was a deliberate attempt to retaliate against himself. Bailey Yanhong was tempted to call it quits and stop paying attention to this brat. However, when she thought about how difficult it was to grow in spiritual power, and how many strong people at the peak of the Eternal Realm had been trapped in the Eternal Realm for a long time since the history of the Starry Void Realm, unable to break through, and ultimately perishing under the heavenly apocalypse that appeared in every era, she held back. One could not be so intentional. If she missed this opportunity to grow her spiritual power, she didn't know when she would have to wait in the future. A strong person in the Eternal Realm's body could constantly generate a constant stream of vitality on its own, keeping the various organs and cells of the body energized. It was theoretically possible to live forever. And they could also automatically repair their injuries. But that didn't mean that Eternal Realm powerhouses wouldn't die. When encountering powerful opponents that could crush them, Eternal Realm powerhouses would also be killed. For example, Bailey Yanhong, a supreme-level powerhouse, could manage to crush both the sovereign level and the immortal level when facing them. Without any special circumstances, one could easily kill the opponent without giving them a chance to repair their injuries at all. Other than that, there was another situation. When an Eternal Realm powerhouse lived to one epoch, that is, 129,600 years, if they were still unable to break through and reach a higher level, they would face a heavenly tribulation. If they succeeded in surviving the heavenly tribulation, they would have another 129,600 years to squander. If one was still unable to make a breakthrough, one would continue to face the heavenly tribulation, which was more powerful than ever. Even the first heavenly tribulation was not that easy to get through, and could weed out at least 90% of the Eternal Realm. This was also the tribulation that the Eternal Realm had to face. The purpose was to eliminate the fittest and weed out some of the Eternal Realms that relied on heavenly treasures to pile up. It was also to lighten the burden on the universe. If there was no heavenly tribulation, Eternal Realm powerhouses could again autonomously generate a constant stream of life force and never die. After countless years of development, the universe was already overcrowded with Eternal Realms. Some suspected that the heavenly tribulation was created by a god-level civilization. But there was no solid evidence for this. Chapter 798, Arriving at the Star Void Realm. Lin Dong, I would like to engage in a spiritual intermingling with you once a day to allow my spiritual power to grow rapidly so that I can have a greater chance of crossing over to the Eternal Realm in the future, and if you agree to this, I can let you yourself to take the initiative. After saying these words, Bailey Yanhong's face was flushed and looked extremely tantalizing. It was a pity that she was now alone in her room and no one saw this scene. Lin Dong's eyes lit up. Taking the initiative himself? That meant that he would not be thrown down from midair by Bailey Yanhong? Won't allow himself to pee halfway and hold it back? If that was the case, Lin Dong had no reason to refuse. Can I open my eyes? Lin Dong opened his mouth and asked. No. Bailey Yanhong directly refused without even thinking about it. However, she then added, it can be longer, but you cannot open your eyes. She still could not accept that she was uncovered in front of Lin Dong. This was because the body that appeared in her mental illusion was no different from reality. Moreover, Bailey Yanhong did not know how to face Lin Dong and did not dare to meet his eyes. All right. If you don't open your eyes, you don't open your eyes. Anyway, as long as the other party did not cross the river, it would be fine. Good. I promise you. Lin Dong said. Bailey Yanhong's heart was delighted when she heard Lin Dong's reply. Wanting to say something, she eventually only managed to hold back 2 words. Thank you. Sister Hong, you don't need to thank me. It is my honor to be able to help you, and when we wait until we reach the Star Void Realm, we still need you to take care of Yin Shi and the others more. The one who should say thank you is me. Don't worry. When we arrive at the Star Void Realm and enter the 7-colored glazed sect, I will arrange them well, then let's start next. Alright. After Lin Dong finished speaking, he released his spiritual energy and entered the spiritual illusion realm together with Bailey Yanhong's spiritual energy. This time, Lin Dong finally did not let Bailey Yanhong cross the river and finally finished taking a piss. Although it was in the spiritual illusion realm, it also made him feel relieved all over. The next time. Every day, the two of them would engage in spiritual intermingling once. Even though Lin Dong kept his eyes closed, he was already familiar with Bailey Yanhong's body. And Bailey Yanhong's spiritual power was also growing at a rapid rate. By the time the giant tortoise entered the range of the Star Void Realm more than 3 months later, Bailey Yanhong's spiritual power was already very powerful. Bailey Yanhong sat in her room, a little less than happy. They had already entered the Star Void Realm. Soon, they would be separated from Lin Dong. The spiritual intermingling could not continue any further either. It was a pity that they still had not been able to raise their spiritual power to a level sufficient to break through to the Eternal Realm. If Bailey Yanhong could be given another half a year, she should be almost there. At that time, she would be able to focus all of her energy on cultivation, striving to raise her realm from the late Supreme level to the peak of the Supreme level as soon as possible. Then fusing her spiritual power, she would break through the Eternal Realm barrier in one fell swoop and become an existence beyond the Eternal Realm. There was no longer any need to fear the arrival of the heavenly tribulation. Although Bailey Yanhong was now less than 2,000 years old, and was still more than 127,000 years away from an era. This time was already long enough and enough for her to do many things. But if she could become an existence beyond the Eternal Realm as soon as possible, who would want to continue staying in the Eternal Realm? Wouldn't that be a long night? Besides, would it be possible to find a way to increase spiritual power so easily in the future? Bailey Yanhong felt that it definitely could not be found. She even had an impulse in her heart to have the giant tortoise turn around, turn in a circle, and wait until her spiritual power was strong enough before returning to the Star Void Realm. But in an instant, she shook her head and dismissed the idea. Because this time, she had also brought Qinjing Zihan out. She had already arrived at the Astral Void Realm, so turning around again would definitely reveal her identity. And by now the sect should already know that she had returned. Bailey Yanhong regretted it. From the Milky Way galaxy to the Star Void Realm, it would take nearly a year, so why hadn't she done this earlier? If she had determined it earlier, the spiritual power would have been enough by now. Alas. Miscalculation. If it was really not possible, then the only way was to wait until she reached the peak of the Eternal Realm before calling Lin Dong and going out together to increase her spiritual energy. Since she had discovered such a simple method to increase her spiritual power, Bailey Yanhong would definitely not give up. While the giant tortoise was entering the range of the Star Void Realm. Within the 7-colored glazed sect, Bailey Yanhong's flame of life immediately became much larger. This indicated that she was already very close. The 7-colored glazed sect disciple who was guarding the flame of life immediately reported this matter to sect leader Gongsun Shimeng. After Gongsun Shimeng found out, he immediately contacted Bailey Yanhong. At this time, Bailey Yanhong was still in her room, chagrined as to why she hadn't spiritually intermingled with Lin Dong earlier to enhance her spiritual power some more. An illusory silhouette suddenly appeared in front of her. It was none other than the 7-colored glazed sect patriarch Gongsun Shimeng. Patriarch. Seeing this silhouette, Bailey Yanhong stood up and respectfully shouted. Although Gongsun Shimeng looked similar to Bailey Yanhong, but she was much older than Bailey Yanhong. Not only was she Bailey Yanhong's elder, but she was also the patriarch of the 7-colored glazed sect, the first person under the 4 great supreme elders. Therefore, Bailey Yanhong's status within the 7-colored glazed sect was definitely lower than Gongsun Shimeng. However, Bailey Yanhong's teacher was Gong Ru Clan, one of the 4 great supreme elders. Gongsun Shimeng didn't dare to pose in front of her. Elder Yanhong has worked hard. I wonder where Elder Yanhong has arrived now? Gongsun Shimeng asked. Just entered the Star Void realm. Bailey Yanhong replied. Then you immediately return to the sect now. Understood. I'm rushing back with all my might. I wonder if there's something the sect leader urgently summoned me back for using the sect's emergency recall order? There is indeed something to find you, but it's not too good to say here. I will tell you when you return to the sect. Good. Patriarch, wait a bit, I'll rush back as soon as possible. Humph. Gongsun Jiming's silhouette disappeared. Bailey Yanhong sat down again. Now, not to mention turning around, she could not even drag her feet for a little while and could only rush back to the sect at full speed. Lin Dong was resting in his room. Bailey Yanhong's voice suddenly rang in his ears. Lin Dong, we have arrived at the Star Void realm. Arrived? So soon? Lin Dong asked. Yes. Already arrived, it is indeed quite fast. Bailey Yanhong replied. Then are we going directly to the seven-colored glazed sect now? Or do we go to the Heavenly Star Mansion? After advancing a little further, I will separate from Zihan, I will go back to the seven-colored glazed sect, and he will go back to the Heavenly Star Mansion. Are you prepared to make a trip to the seven-colored glazed sect with me first, or will you go directly to the Heavenly Star Mansion with Zihan? Of course I am going to the seven-colored glazed sect first. Lin Dong replied without even thinking. What was the point of going to the Heavenly Star Mansion now? He had not even thought about whether to join the Heavenly Star Mansion or not. Moreover, Lin Dong was not at ease if he did not watch Yunxi and the girls join the seven-colored glazed sect. Good. Then you will return to the seven-colored glazed sect with me. Aha! After a while, Bailey Yanhong once again said, Lin Dong, there is one more thing. What is it? Let's do it again. Good. Lin Dong did not refuse. Chapter 799. You can open your eyes. Lin Dong and Bailey Yanhong entered the spiritual illusion realm together. This was probably the last time they would do so in recent times. When they reached the seven-colored glazed sect, they would not have another chance. Because the only ones who possessed spiritual power here were the two of them, they could do whatever they wanted in the spiritual illusion realm. But when they arrived at the seven-colored glazed sect, there were quite a few strong people who possessed spiritual power, so if they did this again, they would easily be discovered. Both of them did not want this secret to be known by a third person. Lin Dong still had his eyes closed. Upon touching Bailey Yanhong's plump body, he lightly held her in his arms. Bailey Yanhong also placed her head on Lin Dong's shoulder and gently blew in his ear. Then with an incomparably seductive voice, she said, Lin Dong, this time you can open your eyes. Lin Dong's body shook at the words with some disbelief. He asked, Sister Hong, are you telling the truth? This may be our last time in recent times. When we arrive at the seven-colored glazed sect, we will not be able to do this anymore. There are many strong people with spiritual power within the sect. We will be discovered. Lin Dong heard the low tone of Bailey Yanhong's speech. He did not know if the other party was because they could no longer grow their spiritual power, or because they had fallen in love with the feeling of the two of them mingling their spirits, or both. During this period of time, they would meet in the spiritual illusion realm every day. Both sides had slowly gotten used to it. It was as if they were dreaming every day. Only again, it was much more real than a dream. The number of times that the two of them had spiritually mingled together could be said to be more than the number of times that Lin Dong had made out with Yunxi. However, the good thing was that it was not a real physical contact, it was just in an illusion. Lin Dong felt slightly better in his heart. He was a good youth of society who had undergone formal education on Earth. Even after arriving at the Star Void realm, strong people here had unlimited lifespans and could marry dozens or even hundreds of women to start a family. He also still needed some time to adapt. Of the three women, Yunxi, Huang Fuxiu, and Zhao Shen, Lin Dong would not give up any of them. As for the other women like Lu Xiaoxiao and the others, if they could find a better one, Lin Dong would bless them. I know, Sister Hong. Lin Dong said. Lin Dong, if in the future, I still want to ask you to help me increase my spiritual power, will you agree? Bailey Yanhong asked. Will. Lin Dong replied without hesitation. Good then. Let's make a deal. My current spiritual energy is not enough to help me surpass the eternal realm. When I raise my realm to the peak of the eternal realm, then I will come back to you for help. At that time, you are not allowed to renege. Don't worry. Sister Hong, just let me know when you need it. Thanks. Now you can open your eyes. Lin Dong grabbed Bailey Yanhong's shoulders with both hands and gently pushed her away. Then he slowly opened his eyes. The first thing that caught his eyes was Bailey Yanhong's mature and charming stunning face. She was tightly closing her eyes at the moment. Bailey Yanhong had allowed Lin Dong to open her eyes, but she herself had closed them tightly. From her constantly fluttering eyelashes, it could be seen that the other party was in a state of extreme nervousness at the moment. Two blushes appeared on her face, and on her pink skin, the whiteness was so red that it looked so tantalizing that one could not help but want to take a bite. If this scene were to be seen by others in the Star Void realm, their jaws would definitely drop in shock. Bailey Yanhong was one of the elders of the seven-colored glazed sect, as well as a supreme-level superpower. She would actually reveal such a delicate expression. It simply shattered people's three views and caused them to plummet. However, although Bailey Yanhong was nearly 2,000 years old, she was still an untouched woman in the end. Such a behavior was actually a normal phenomenon. Lin Dong's gaze began to move away from Bailey Yanhong's face and slowly looked downwards. As his gaze came more and more downward, his eyes began to gradually widen. This was a mature woman in her 30s whose temptation was at its peak. Any normal man would not be able to stand seeing it. Even though Lin Dong's willpower was rare in the world, at this moment, he also had the feeling that he was about to be unable to hold on. However, he still held back for the time being. Carefully appreciating this, a unique work of art in the world. The first time when the spirits mingled, though, they had also seen it. But at that time, both of them were in a very shocked and confused state. Lin Dong did not have the heart to appreciate it either. But now was different. Bailey Yanhong closed her eyes tightly and waited for a long time, never seeing Lin Dong act. Then she gently opened her eyes a tiny slit and saw that Lin Dong was staring at her carefully and immediately had hurriedly closed them. After waiting for a while longer, Bailey Yanhong finally couldn't help but open her mouth. Bailey Yanhong finally could not help but open her mouth. Lin Dong, you hurry up. Her words also caused Lin Dong to come back to his senses, after realizing that he had lost his temper. Lin Dong hurriedly said, "Oh. Good. After saying this, his body gently leaned up. Inside the seven-colored glazed sect. After Gongsun Shiming and Bailey Yanhong finished speaking and determined each other's location, they quickly came outside the Forbidden Valley. The Supreme Elder had said that once there was news of Bailey Yanhong, she would be notified immediately. At her elder's command, Gongsun Shiming did not dare to have the slightest bit of adult negligence. Therefore, after learning of Bailey Yanhong's news, she rushed over at the first opportunity. Supreme Elder Yanhong has already arrived at the Star Void realm. I have just contacted her, and she is now rushing back to the sect with all her might. Gongsun Shiming said loudly as he stood outside the valley. Inside the valley, Gongru clan was sitting cross-legged in a wooden house. Hearing Gongsun Shiming's voice, she immediately opened her eyes. There was a flash of essence in his eyes. Then he spoke, "I know, you can retire first." "Yes. Supreme Elder, little dream retires." Gongsun Shiming finished speaking and respectfully retreated, returning to the seven-colored glazed sect in the wooden house. Gong-Ruz continued to close her eyes again, utilizing the connection between her and Bailey Yanhong's master and disciple to sense each other's location. She could not wait to see her good disciple immediately now. Bailey Yanhong's charming body could never be broken, otherwise it would affect the seven-colored glazed sect's grand plan. If it was forced, then so be it. That was an uncontrollable factor. There was nothing she could do about it herself. Gong-Ruz would find the person who started it and make him pay the price he deserved. If it was voluntary. If Bailey Yanhong did this, she would be going against her master's orders. It was a waste of Gong-Ruz's years of painstaking cultivation. Gong-Ruz once could have told Bailey Yanhong more than once that she should never fall in love, nor should she cross paths with men. Once something happens, it will harm others and herself. Over the years, Bailey Yanhong was also very obedient. Although there were many men who pursued her openly and secretly, among them there were many heavenly pride demons from some great powers. However, she had never heard of her having much contact with any man. Now, just by going out on a mission, she was unexpectedly broken. This was something that Gong-Ruz couldn't accept no matter what. Chapter 800, What's Next? A few moments later, Gong-Ruz suddenly opened her eyes. She had already sensed Bailey Yanhong's location. Then with a gentle stroke of her finger towards the front, a pitch-black spatial crack appeared, and Gong-Ruz's entire body burrowed into it, rapidly advancing towards Bailey Yanhong's direction. As a powerhouse beyond the Eternal Realm, Gong Ru's speed could be much faster than the Eternal Realm. The giant tortoise in front of her, that was the true turtle speed. It wouldn't take long for her to intercept Bailey Yanhong halfway. Above the giant tortoise, Lin Dong and Bailey Yanhong opened their eyes at the same time. Bailey Yanhong still had a hint of flushing on her face. Lin Dong, on the other hand, felt that the pores of his body had opened up. That feeling simply made Lin Dong linger, no less than reality. Perhaps knowing that in a short period of time, both parties would not have another chance. Bailey Yanhong also no longer acted like before, but instead acted proactively and enthusiastically. At first, she still had her eyes closed and did not dare to meet Lin Dong's eyes. When it came to later, she was no longer shy and reserved and directly opened her eyes. Inside a red-colored room, Bailey Yanhong sat up, thinking about everything that had just happened in the mental illusion realm. Her face flushed again. After a while, she muttered, "Little bastard, when I solve my body's problems and won't be able to cause harm to men anymore, I will come back to experience the real feeling with you, and see how it is different from the one in the spiritual illusion realm. You have to wait for me obediently, and if you dare to forget about me, let's see how I'll clean you up." At this moment, Bailey Yanhong had already forgotten what her master had warned her about, not being able to be emotional towards men. She only wanted to find a solution to her body that would not harm men anymore. It was true that Bailey Yanhong only wanted Lin Dong to help her raise her spiritual power at first. This was because it was too difficult to raise her spiritual power, and it was so hard to find a way to do so that she did not want to give up. However, as she spent more and more time with Lin Dong, the two of them were entangled in the spiritual illusion realm every day. Her feelings towards Lin Dong had gradually undergone a subtle change. This just confirmed a word: a fondness for each other over time. Even two people who did not think highly of each other or did not like each other would change after spending a long time together. Not to mention that Bailey Yanhong did not dislike Lin Dong in the first place. She was very appreciative of this young man who had just stepped into the eternal realm and possessed such a strong spiritual power. That was why this situation was created. However, if the charming body had not been aroused, Bailey Yanhong would not have come this far. It was also unlikely that she would have wanted anything to do with Lin Dong. She believed that her master's admonition was just not wanting her charming body to be aroused to avoid serious consequences. And the charming body had been aroused uncontrollably at the very beginning. This was something that no one could do anything about. Thus, Bailey Yanhong thought that even if Master Teacher knew about it, he would forgive himself. If one were to choose a person in this world who was the best for them, Bailey Yanhong would choose Master Gongru's without a doubt. Not only did she save herself in the chaos and raise herself, she also taught herself such a skill. It could be said that without Master Gongru's, there would be no Bailey Yanhong today. Of course, all of this was what Gongru's had told her from a young age. From the time she had memories, she had stayed in the seven-colored glazed sect, and under Gongru's teachings, she had worked hard every day to cultivate, and only then had she become what she is today. Bailey Yanhong could never have imagined. Her master Gongru's cultivating her so carefully was not just a simple matter of liking her and treating her as a disciple. Rather, there was this other purpose. As for what the plan of the four great supreme elders of the seven-colored glazed sect was, it would require a charming body that surpassed the eternal realm in order to accomplish it. Other than the four of them, not a single person in the entire seven-colored glazed sect knew. There might not even be a fifth person in the entire Star Void realm who knew. It was just that it could make four powerhouses beyond the eternal realm pay so much attention to it. It was definitely a great plot. After Bailey Yanhong finished talking to herself, then she began to close her eyes and check her spiritual power. It seemed to have grown quite a bit again. And it had grown a bit more than before. Could it be because both of them let go of everything? If only they had known earlier. Doing this at the beginning. A little more each time, so many times cumulatively, it would be quite a lot again. Then the total amount of spiritual power she possessed now would definitely have increased by a large amount. It was a pity that it had already returned to the astral void realm. There was no telling when she would have to wait until the next time. Bailey Yanhong opened her eyes and sighed silently. This was the first time in her life that she did not want to return to the seven-colored glazed sect so soon. Lin Dong was also in his room at the moment, reminiscing about what had just happened with Bailey Yanhong in the spiritual illusion realm. He also did not expect that Bailey Yanhong would become so crazy during this last time. However, now Lin Dong was going to return to reality. He had already reached the Star Void realm. After going to the seven-colored glazed sect next and watching Bailey Yanhong settle Yun Shi and the others, he would have to start thinking about how he should survive in the Star Void realm. How could he spend a huge amount of Star Yuan coins and obtain a huge amount of Divine Magnificence points to use to enhance his strength without attracting the attention of the powerful people of the Star Void realm? When he first came to this unfamiliar place of the Star Void realm, the situation Lin Dong faced was even more severe than when he first obtained the system on Earth. At that time, at least he had lived on Earth for nearly 22 years, and he counted on a good understanding of Earth and had many friends and acquaintances, knowing what his path should be in order to become powerful step by step. And the situation today was that Lin Dong did not understand the Star Void realm at all, even though Qin Jing Zihan had told him so much about the Star Void realm. But what others said was always what others said. He hadn't lived here and still didn't understand it. Other than Bailey Yanhong and Qin Jing Zihan, Lin Dong did not even know a third person. The Star Void realm again belonged to an advanced civilization with many strong people. With Lin Dong's current strength at the early stage of the sovereign grade, he was simply not enough to look at. If he was slightly inattentive and was targeted by an immortal or supreme level powerhouse, he would not even have the room to resist. How could he break through this? This was the first thing Lin Dong had to consider. If he could not do so, he would have to join the Heavenly Star Mansion. Although he would be restricted and bound by the rules of the Heavenly Star Mansion, he would at least have a backer. It would not be so bad that he would not be able to find anyone to help him after being targeted by a strong person. It was just that Lin Dong did not want to join any force until he had to. This was also considered a form of self-protection. The power of the system was definitely something that could not be known by a second person. Even if there was even the slightest possibility, Lin Dong had to eliminate a Chapter 801 spatial dimension. Bailey Yanhong thought a lot, but in the face of today's situation, she did not have a better solution. She could only return to the seven-colored glazed sect first. See if Master Gong Ru's could help her get her body's problems solved. Then she would consider the next thing. At this very moment, a spatial crack suddenly appeared in the room. Bailey Yanhong looked over with a grave expression. Humans and everything else in the universe existed in three-dimensional space. The entire universe was a three-dimensional space. What everyone saw with their naked eyes was also three-dimensional space. Eternal realm powerhouses could tear apart three-dimensional space and walk in four-dimensional space, able to greatly shorten the distance between 2 points in three-dimensional space. Therefore, eternal realm powerhouses tearing through space to catch up were much faster than any speed of light. And the higher the spatial dimension, the closer the distance between 2 points. For example, in three-dimensional space, the distance between two places would take 10,000 years to reach with the speed of light. Then in four-dimensional space, it might only take a mere hour, and in five-dimensional space it would only take a minute, and in six-dimensional space it might take a second to reach it, and so on down the line. In 7 and 8 dimensions, it would take even less time. Of course, this is not absolute, just an analogy. In short, the higher the spatial dimension, the closer the distance, the shorter the time needed. This was recognized by all creatures in the universe. However, the higher the dimension, the more solid the space was. The battle power needed to tear through high-dimensional space was also stronger. The giant tortoise was now traveling through four-dimensional space. But at this moment, in Bailey Yanhong's room, there was actually someone who was able to tear through four-dimensional space and come out of a higher level 5-dimensional or perhaps even 6-dimensional space. This caused Bailey Yanhong to pay attention. Even she, a supreme level powerhouse, was unable to tear through 4-dimensional space and enter 5-dimensional space. To tear through 4-dimensional space, one's strength had to surpass the eternal realm and reach the half-step saint realm in order to do so. That meant this person was even more powerful than her, at least a half-step saint realm super existence. Such a strong person could never be unknown in the Star Void realm, a 7th-level civilization. It was likely that she also knew him. Bailey Yanhong stared carefully at the spatial crack, only to see a pale figure walk out from within. This pale figure was none other than Gong Ru clan, one of the 4 great supreme elders of the 7-colored glazed sect. It was also Bailey Yanhong's senior elder. Master Teacher. Bailey Yanhong's eyes lit up as she immediately stood up and shouted happily, "Little Red is back. This trip out has been hard for you." Gong Ru squeezed out a smile. "Master, I don't work hard, these are what I should do, right, Master, why are you here?" Bailey Yanhong was puzzled. Her master teacher, Gong Ru clan, was one of the 4 great supreme elders of the 7-colored glazed sect, a super existence of the Saint Realm. All year round, he was in seclusion in the sect's forbidden land. This time actually came out? What exactly had happened in the sect that could startle her old man? I've come here to ask you something. Just ask directly if there is anything that Master Teacher has to do. As long as I know, I will definitely tell you. Bailey Yanhong said seriously. In fact, as soon as Gong Ruse entered the room, she began to observe Bailey Yanhong's condition. But she did not see any difference from before. If the charmed body was broken, it couldn't be like this. Could it be that Shiman Fugue had sensed wrongly? Gong Ru did not know Bailey Yanhong had been harmonizing with Lin Dong's yin and yang every day for the past 3 months. In her body, the desire that arose from the excitement of the charming body had been completely suppressed. All a trace of it had not leaked out, and Gong Ruse naturally could not see anything. Little Red, how is your charming body doing now? Gong Ruse went straight to the point. This was the question she was most concerned about. If Bailey Yanhong's charmed body was not broken, then everything was fine. The plan could still continue. Master, you found out? Bailey Yanhong's heart tightened and she said in a somewhat unnatural manner. Master Teacher was worthy of being a Sage Realm powerhouse. The desire in her body had been completely suppressed to death, not leaking in the slightest, and she didn't expect that it was still discovered. When Gong Ru heard Bailey Yanhong's words, her brows frowned and her gaze looked over like lightning. Bailey Yanhong was uncomfortable by this gaze. She knew that her master was waiting for her explanation. But how exactly should she explain about the charming body being aroused? At this moment, Bailey Yanhong's heart was very torn. Tell the truth? If she did so, Lin Dong's secret would be exposed. A brat who was new to the Eternal Realm and was only at the early stage of the Eternal Realm sovereign level, and was born in a low-grade civilization like the Galaxy, surprisingly possessed an extremely large amount of spiritual power. It was believed that even if Gong Ru clan, a Saint Realm powerhouse, knew about it, he would definitely be shocked. Because this had completely broken the norm. Who didn't know that spiritual power was only cultivated at the supreme level? A little guy who had just reached the Eternal Realm actually possessed it, and it was quite massive. It must have been a very rare encounter that made it possible. Bailey Yanhong did not know if her master would not be able to resist approaching Lin Dong to ask him about the source of his spiritual energy once he knew about it. Everyone had their own secrets. She herself had never asked Lin Dong about this aspect. If the Master Zun could not help but ask, involving his own privacy, Lin Dong would most likely not answer. The two would most likely create a gap between them as a result. Bailey Yanhong did not want her master teacher to have a conflict with Lin Dong. Moreover, she could not be certain that her master teacher would not use force. After all, after reaching the supreme level, spiritual power was something very, very important. It was said that when one reached the Sage Realm, for every breakthrough, one's spiritual energy had to be up to par in order to be able to do so. So even at the Saint Realm, one couldn't resist the temptation of rapidly growing one's spiritual power. Once the Gongru clan used force, how could Lin Dong possibly resist a Sage Realm when he was only at the early stage of the sovereign level? He, a person from a low-level civilization, had no background and no strength, and would surely end badly. Although Qin Jing Zihan was very optimistic about Lin Dong, after all, he had not yet joined the Heavenly Star Mansion. At that time, even if the two of them, Bailey Yanhong and Qin Jing Zihan, persuaded him together, it would still be useless. Let alone the two of them. Even if Qin Jing Zihan's father, the Heavenly Star Mansion Master, stepped forward, the Gongru clan would simply not take heed of the other party. The gap between the two sides was too great. Unless it was the Heavenly Star Mansion's ancestor who came. It might still be somewhat useful. But this was clearly impossible. The Heavenly Star Mansion's old ancestor would not offend the Gongru clan's Sage Realm powerhouse for the sake of Lin Dong, a person who had not yet joined the Heavenly Star Mansion. Of course, all of this was just a guess in Bailey Yanhong's mind. Perhaps her master teacher would be very favorable towards Lin Dong after knowing about it. However, Bailey Yanhong did not want to gamble. Winning the bet would be fine. Once she lost, Lin Dong would be ruined by her. At this moment, Bailey Yanhong might have to lie to her master, Gongru, as did not want to expose Lin Dong's secret, putting Lin Dong in a dangerous situation. Although this was only possible. Chapter 802, Another Charming Body. Since the decision had already been made, Bailey Yanhong also did not hesitate anymore. She then said to Gong Ru's, "Master, my charming body has already been aroused." When Gong Rus heard this, the cold light in her eyes began to become somewhat oozing. However, she still did not say anything. It was just that the anger in her heart had begun to gather, and it might explode out at some point. Seeing that her master teacher did not speak, Bailey Yanhong then continued, "Master teacher, how exactly my charming body was stimulated, I'm actually still confused and don't understand until now." "What do you mean?" Gong Rus barely managed to squeeze 4 words out of her mouth. "When I was on a cosmic enforcer mission, I was suddenly pulled into an illusion, and then..." Bailey Yanhong began to speak about what had happened to her. It was basically the same scenario as the first time Lin Dong and her had a spiritual melding. It was just that the person Lin Dong was eliminated, replacing him with a stranger that she did not recognize at all and had never seen in reality. After Bailey Yanhong finished speaking, Gong Rus fell into deep thought. According to Xiao Hong, she should have entered a spiritual illusion. Could the spiritual illusion realm also inspire the charming body? Gong Rus wasn't sure because the charmed body was too few and far between in the universe. There was also no record of the charmed body in history. When Gong Ru's hand reached out, Bailey Yanhong's hand automatically lifted up and landed in her hand. Facing her master, Bailey Yanhong did not resist in the slightest. Of course, even if she resisted, it was useless. The difference in strength between the two sides was there. Gong Rus held Bailey Yanhong's hand for a short while before frowning slightly. It seemed that Little Red was right. It was indeed in the mental illusion that the charmed body was broken. Because her body was still intact, it was impossible to fake it. Moreover, there was a unique energy suppressed in Xiao Hong's body, which should be the desire created when the charmed body was aroused. They had always thought that the only way to break the charmed body was to have intercourse with a man. I didn't expect it to be broken in the spiritual illusion realm, but no matter what, the charmed body was broken after all. Then the next plan would be disrupted. It was just that this was not Xiao Hong's fault, and it was not good to blame her for anything. Knowing the truth of the matter, the anger in Gong Ru's heart was still not extinguished. The 4 sisters had been preparing for so many years, they had reached the final stage and were about to succeed, but it turned out that there was such an accident. Unable to direct her anger at Little Red, there would be no choice but to look for the culprit. The man who had broken Little Red's charmed body in the spiritual illusion. Gong Rus must find him and slaughter him. "Little Red, where were you pulled into the spiritual illusion realm? And who was that man?" Gong Rus suppressed the anger in her heart and asked. "Master, the location I know where it is, that place I will never forget for the rest of my life, but who the other party is, I don't know. From the beginning to the end I was controlled by the other party, I didn't have even the slightest power to resist, and I haven't seen his face." Bailey Yanhong shook her head and said with a bitter face. This answer made Gong Rus somewhat unacceptable. Having never seen the other party's face and only remembering the location, what use was that? Even if they rushed over now, the person would already be long gone. To be able to easily control Xiao Hong in a mental illusion, there was no doubt that the other party's mental power was strong. Gong Rus had some doubts that it could be done by a certain half-step Saint Realm or even Saint Realm powerhouse from the Star Void realm. The other party had been spying on Xiao Hong for a long time. Taking the opportunity of this time when Little Red was out on a mission, he made such a mess. As for why they didn't come directly to the real thing, they must have been afraid of leaving behind evidence and being retaliated against by the 7-colored glazed sect in the future. The more I think about it, the more Gong Rus feel that this possibility is too big. Otherwise, in a low to medium level civilization, how could one possibly meet a strong person above the half-step Saint Realm? But now the situation was somewhat difficult for Gong Ru clan, a Saint Realm powerhouse. The plan that had been prepared for many years was destroyed. The key is that you can't find the person who started it all. There was no place to vent his anger. "All right. I know, Little Red, you're also tired, have a good rest," Gong Rus said in a disinterested manner. Bailey Yanhong could see that her master's mood was not very good, but she still asked, "Master, right now my body is suppressing a very powerful desire, can it be resolved?" "This needs to be studied slowly after we go back. There are too few seductive bodies in the universe, and there is no experience left behind by previous generations. It all needs to be groped for by ourselves. Well, let's talk about it when we go back. I'll leave first." Gong Rus turned around after saying that, ready to tear through the 4-dimensional space and leave. She still had to go back to tell the other 3 sisters the news and discuss what to do next. At this moment, Bailey Yanhong, however, suddenly opened her mouth to stop. Master, wait. Something else? Gong Ruse turned around and asked. There is. Master, when I was on a mission, I found a woman with the same physique as me in a low-level civilization, and now I have taken her as my disciple. Bailey Yanhong said. Gong Ruse was a bit unimpressed at first but immediately followed by a thought in her mind. A woman with the same physique as Xiao Hong? Isn't this the charming body? What did you say? You discovered another charming body? Gong Ruse asked with a slightly nervous tone. Yes, Master. Bailey Yanhong replied affirmatively. Is it complete, or has it been broken? Complete. Where is she now? In another room. Call her over immediately and I'll take a look. Okay. Master. Hearing Bailey Yanhong say that she had discovered another charmed body, Gong Ru's emotions immediately rose. Although Xiao Hong's charming body was broken. But if they could find another complete charming body, their plan could continue again. Even if the other party's strength was low right now. As long as it was a complete charming body, coupled with the 7-colored glazed sex vast resources and the teaching of their 4 sage realms, their strength would soon rise. It was even much faster than Little Red. After all, this time, they already had experienced the 4 Gong Ru sisters had planned for so many years. Waiting a little longer was completely acceptable. Morong Chinga was in her room with her eyes closed, subconsciously cultivating. Master Bailey Yanhong's voice suddenly came from her ears. Chinga, come to my room immediately, someone wants to see you. Yes. Master. Morong Chinga opened her eyes and replied. Although she had questions in her mind. Who would it be that wanted to see themselves? But Morong Chinga didn't ask. Don't ask what you shouldn't ask. This was the guideline she had set for herself. Whoever wanted to see her would know when she went there. The only thing she could be sure of was that this person was definitely not the other people she had seen on top of the giant tortoise. And the identity would not be low. Bailey Yanhong felt that it should be her own master who was going to introduce herself to someone big. After saying that, she got up, straightened her clothes, and then headed towards Master Bailey Yanhong's room. Chapter 803, Genius Reduced to a Passerby. Done. Morong Chinga walked to Master Bailey Yanhong's room and knocked on the door. Soon Bailey Yanhong's voice came from inside. Come in. Morong Chinga pushed the door and entered. Only to see a sea of red in the room. Besides Master Bailey Yanhong, there was also an older crone. This old crone had definitely not been seen before. Who was this person? When did it come? It should be her who wants to see me. Looking at the way his master was being respectful in front of this old crone, Morong Chinga had a plan in her heart. This person's identity was absolutely terrifying. Moreover, from the moment she entered the door, Morong Chinga realized that the other party had been staring at her. It was as if that gaze was trying to see through her. Facing this aggressive gaze, Morong Chinga was also a little hard to bear. In the past, only men would look at her with this kind of gaze. This time it was an old woman. Morong Chinga calmed her nerves and walked over to Bailey Yanhong and Gong Ruse and bowed to them respectively. Then she respectfully said, Chinga has met Master, and has met this senior. The entire time Gong Ruse kept her gaze on Morong Chinga. The expression on her face was like dark clouds dispersing as the clouds turned clear. From the gloominess when she had just learned that Bailey Yanhong's charming body had been broken, she finally revealed a hint of a smile. Gong Ruse from the aura that emanated from Morong Chinga's body, as well as what her eyes saw. It had already roughly understood Morong Chinga's physical condition. It was the same as what Little Red had said. It was indeed a complete charmed body. The specifics needed to be further confirmed. But basically, it was already about 8 or 9. This made Gong Ru's heart very happy. Unexpectedly, did not expect. Originally thought that Xiao Hong's charmed body had been broken, and that she would need to be forced to change her plans next. After all, it was too difficult to find a charmed body in the universe again. Instead of waiting endlessly, it would be better to discuss a change of plan. However, what he didn't expect was that Little Red had actually brought back a complete charmed body. This was really an unexpected delight. Although the other party's strength was still very low. But the talent of someone with a charmed body was already needless to say. As long as one spent some energy and resources to properly cultivate it, it wouldn't take long to catch up. It was even possible to surpass Little Red. Chinga, let me introduce you, this is my master Gongru clan. At the same time, her old man is also one of the 4 strongest supreme elders of the 7-colored glazed sect. Bailey Yanhong pointed at the old crone and introduced her. Morong Chinga was shocked in her heart when she heard this. Incredulously, she looked at the ordinary old woman. She didn't expect the other party to be her master's master. The power of her master, Bailey Yanhong, Morong Chinga had already seen it. In the behemoth galaxy, a single voice could scare dozens of Eternal Realm powerhouses into kneeling and begging for mercy. Then how powerful would her master be? Even though Morong Chinga was still somewhat vague about the division of battle power in the universe. However, she knew that this old crone could become one of the 4 strongest supreme elders of the 7-colored glazed sect and teach a strong person like her master. The strength was absolutely terrifying. Chinga has met Elder Master. Morong Chinga hurriedly bowed again. Your name is Chinga? Gongru asked with a smile. Back to Elder Master Father, my full name is Morong Chinga. Morong Chinga? Not bad, not bad. Good name, from now on, you'll be a member of my 7-colored glazed sect. Many thanks, Elder Master. Morong Chinga said happily, although she had already been considered a member of the 7-colored glazed sect since she had worshipped Bailey Yanhong as her teacher. But to be recognized by the 7-colored glazed sect's great elders still made her very happy. Little Red, you said that you have taken Chinga Lovesong as your disciple? Gongruz looked at Bailey Yanhong and asked. Yes, Master. Bailey Yanhong replied. You guys just came back from outside, you haven't performed the master worship ceremony yet to be recorded into the sect. Bailey Yanhong was puzzled as to why Master Teacher would ask this. However, she still answered, no, we just reached an agreement verbally. When we return to the sect, we will prepare to register. As for the master worship ceremony, there is no need for that, just keep everything simple. Little Red, your current charming body has already been stimulated, which means that your physical advantage no longer exists. Not only that, that desire in your body will always hinder you from continuing to move forward. The next time you are above cultivation, you will not be as smooth as before. You may fall into a situation where it is difficult to move forward by inches. You have to be psychologically prepared for that. When Bailey Yanhong heard this, she did not feel surprised in the slightest. It was because her master Gongruz had once said such words more than once, telling her that she must not get emotional and must remain a virgin so that she could fully utilize the advantages of the charming body. Otherwise, once the charming body was broken, she would turn from a peerless heavenly pride into an ordinary person. From the inexplicable first time that Bailey Yanhong had spiritually mingled with Lindong and stimulated the charmed body, she knew that her next path would be difficult. However, she did not hate Lindong. This was because it was not something that Lindong had done on purpose. He was different from those men in the Star Void realm who wanted to obtain themselves. Moreover, now Lindong had helped himself grow so much spiritual energy. Bailey Yanhong believed that in the future, she still had a great chance of surpassing the Eternal Realm. I understand, I also do not want to cause such a result, but this is not something I can control. I am sorry, Master, it is me who has failed your expectations, and I am ashamed of your careful cultivation over the years. Bailey Yanhong said in a low voice. Since Lindong had been concealed from her, then it was naturally impossible for the matter of spiritual power growth to be spoken as well. It is good that you are mentally prepared, then I am also relieved. Master Teacher is afraid that he will not be able to accept the fall from a genius to become an ordinary person. As for the words of apology, don't say anything, because it is not your fault, so you don't have to feel guilty, and the person who started this matter status, Master Teacher will find a way to find him. Gongru's eyes flashed with a cold light as she finished speaking, causing Bailey Yanhong's heart to be startled. She did not want Lindong, the originator, to be discovered by her Master Teacher. Right now, the Master Teacher was in a state of anger. He might kill Lindong with a slap. Bailey Yanhong hurriedly bowed and thanked, thank you, Master Teacher. Morong Chinga stood at the side, listening with some uncertainty. However, she knew a very important point. That was that her own master used to be a genius among geniuses, but because the charming body was forced, she was now reduced to a passerby. Morong Chinga seemed to remember that her master Bailey Yanhong had told her that the two of them were of the same physique, both of them were of the charming body, so was it possible to understand that the charming body was a very powerful physique, able to make the possessor a genius among geniuses. But the prerequisite was that it couldn't be broken. Once it was broken, it would immediately change from a genius to an ordinary person. These were just Morong Chinga's simple guesses based on the conversation between the two. There was still a lot she didn't understand as well. The specifics needed to be understood slowly over the next few moments. Chapter 804 Apprentice Disciple Turns Sister. Little Red, although the situation you will face in the future is somewhat less than ideal, but your foundation has been very thick over the years, so you may not be without a chance if you work hard, and the 7-colored glazed sect will do their best to help you, so believe in yourself. Gong Ru inspired Bailey Yanhong. Thank you, Master. Even if the physique advantage is gone, I will still double my efforts, and strive to make up for the gap with diligence, and won't let you down. Bailey Yanhong said gratefully. Since that's the case, then for the rest of the time, you should cultivate well. You shouldn't worry about Qinggu, it just so happens that you guys haven't formally worshipped her either. Teaching her will take up a lot of your time and affect your future development, so why don't you just leave it to us? Let the four of us teach her. With the experience of having taught you, I believe that it won't be long before Qinggu will be able to outshine the blue and become the pillar of the 7-colored glazed sect, Gongru said slowly. The words she said earlier were all for the purpose of paving the way for this matter. If Bailey Yanhong was allowed to teach Morong Qinggu, there was still no telling when it would take them to surpass the Eternal Realm and become a Sage Realm existence. They no longer wanted to waste any more time. This time, they definitely gathered the combined strength of the four of them. Coupled with the vast amount of resources in the valley, it would quickly allow Morong Qinggu to grow up hearing Gong Ru's words. Bailey Yanhong didn't feel much. She felt that her master was right. She herself had to work hard on her cultivation next, striving to reach the peak of the Eternal Realm as early as possible, and then she would seek help from Lin Dong to raise her spiritual power, and then she could impact the half-step Sage Realm. If he accepted Morong Qinggu as his disciple, he definitely had to be responsible for her. This would require a lot of time to teach her. Then one's cultivation time would be compressed. It was fine before the charming body was energized, there was the advantage of the physique then, but not now. One had to spend more time on cultivation. As of now, handing Morong Qinggu over to the master teacher to teach her was indeed the best choice. They also had experience. They would definitely teach Qinggu to become another important figure in the 7-colored glazed sect. Senior is right, I am indeed not fit to teach Qinggu anymore and I don't have that much energy, so Qinggu will have to trouble you. Bailey Yanhong calmly accepted Gong Ru's suggestion. However, another person's heart set off monstrous waves. This person was Morong Qinggu. To be able to become the disciple of a powerful person like Bailey Yanhong, she felt that she had already gotten lucky. Back when she was on Earth, she was in an excited position for a few days and nights without sleeping. Now, listening to this meaning, was she going to let herself worship Bailey Yanhong's master as her teacher? How strong this old woman Gongru's was, Morong Qinggu couldn't understand it yet. But it was definitely much stronger than Bailey Yanhong. And it was still one of the 4 great supreme elders of the 7-colored glazed sect. That meant that in the future, one's own master would be one of the 4 strongest people in the 7-colored glazed sect. Then, would he not be able to walk horizontally in the 7-colored glazed sect? Bailey Yanhong's face was red with excitement. She was dazed by this pie that had suddenly descended upon her. If Qinggu, I'm going to let her follow a different path from you, and at the same time worship our 4 great supreme elders as her teacher, combining the strengths of the 4 of us, and teaching her to be unique as soon as possible. Gong Ru said to Bailey Yanhong. Worshipping your 4 great supreme elders as teachers at the same time? Bailey Yanhong was shocked. This treatment was something even she had never had. It was definitely unique to the 7-colored glazed sect since its inception. If Morong Qinggu really worshipped 4 supreme elders as her teacher at the same time, then her status was so high that she might not even be able to suppress the patriarch. Bailey Yanhong also couldn't help but cast an envious glance at Morong Qinggu. The luck of this little girl who came out of a low-level civilization was truly too good. Right. Worship the 4 of us at the same time and let the 4 of us teach her. Gong Ru affirmed. Congratulations, Master, for harvesting one beloved disciple. I believe that senior sister Qinggu will definitely not fail Master's expectations in the future like I did. She will definitely be able to surpass me. Little Red, you mustn't slack off either, and strive to surpass the Eternal Realm as soon as possible. Yes, Master Teacher, Little Red understands. Gong Ru slightly adjusted her body, faced Morong Qinggu, and asked, Qinggu, are you willing to worship the 4 of us as your master? Qinggu refers to master. Chinga directly knelt down and kowtowed a few times to Gong Ru's. Dun dun dun. The forehead collided with the floor, making a loud sound. Such a good opportunity. She, Chinga, wasn't a fool, so how could she miss it? Gongru accepted it openly. When they returned to the clan and held the master worship ceremony, they would also need to kowtow. Good. Ha ha. My Gongru clan finally has another honorable disciple. Chinga, you get up first. Wait until we reach the division and hold the master worship ceremony. Gongru clan said happily. Thank you, master. Chinga got up after saying that. Congratulations to senior sister Chinga. Bailey Yanhong, who was standing at the side, said. Thank you, senior sister. I'll ask senior sister for more care in the future. Chinga also politely returned. Where, in the future maybe senior sister will still need senior sister's care. At that time, if senior sister begs to come to the door, don't close the door and not see her. What kind of words is this from senior sister? If it wasn't for senior sister, how would there be Chinga today? As long as senior sister has a need for senior sister, feel free to command. Senior sister will never excuse herself if she can do it. The two men exchanged a few polite words. As for the words spoken by both sides, how many of them were true and how many were false, it would take time to verify. The master worship ceremony hadn't been held yet. As long as the master worship ceremony was over and Chinga successfully worshipped the four great supreme elders, she would then become the first person under the four great supreme elders of the seven-colored glazed sect. Her status would even surpass Patriarch Gongsun Jimeng. Of course, it was only status that exceeded. In terms of power in the seven-colored glazed sect, as long as Gongsun Jimeng remained in the position of Patriarch for one day, she would still be the person with the most power and benefits under the four great supreme elders, feeling that the time was almost up. Gongruz opened her mouth and said, Xiaohong, I'll take Chingu back first, you guys take your time and be safe on the road. Yes, master. Bailey Yanhong said respectfully. Chingu, let's go. Yes, master. Gongruz brought Chinga, and after tearing through the four-dimensional space, they entered the five-dimensional space. This wasn't the end. She proceeded to tear through five-dimensional space again and entered six-dimensional space. Then once again, she tore through six-dimensional space and drilled into seven-dimensional space. Bailey Yanhong stood in the room and watched her master and sister leave. Until the spatial rift closed. After another few moments. Only after making sure that the other party had gone far away did she let out a huge sigh of relief. She was truly afraid that the matter between herself and Lin Dong would be known by her master Gongru. Then the consequences would be unimaginable. As for the disciple she had just taken in becoming a senior sister, Bailey Yanhong always felt that there was something wrong here, but couldn't say. Anyway, the four supreme elders of the seven-colored glazed sect joining forces to jointly teach a disciple was something that had never happened before. A little girl who came out of a low-level civilization. A leap to become the disciple of the four supreme elders of the seven-colored glazed sect. This was simply a sparrow flying onto a branch turning into a phoenix, a step to heaven. Bailey Yanhong also had to sigh at Chinga's counterintuitive luck at this time. Chapter 805. Chapter 806, I want to try it myself. That's good. Lin Dong, in the future in the Star Void realm, you must keep a low profile. The Star Void realm is not like your galaxy. There, you are the strongest, you call the shots. You may have gotten used to that feeling of being the only one who gives orders to others, but here, there are too many stronger than you, and the water is too deep. Even what I have learned about this is only the tip of the iceberg. If you want to get a foothold in the Star Void realm, you must work hard and strive to surpass the Eternal realm as soon as possible, to reach the Sage realm before you can do so. Bailey Yanhong seriously persuaded. She was afraid that Lin Dong would treat this Star Void realm like the Milky Way galaxy. Then, he probably would not be able to survive for too long. This was an outcome that Bailey Yanhong was unwilling to see. It was crucial that when she returned to the seven-colored glazed sect, she also had her own matters and could not possibly follow Lin Dong at all times to protect him. Although Lin Dong was not a fool, it was impossible for him to not even be able to distinguish this point. However, it was still good to give him a precautionary shot in advance. In the face of Bailey Yanhong's heartfelt words, Lin Dong was also very touched in his heart. Sister Hong, thank you. Don't keep saying thank you. I don't like to hear such words. Bailey Yanhong frowned, a little less than happy. Lin Dong's mouthful of thank you was undoubtedly trying to distance the two of them. Alright. No more thank you then. If there is anything that Sister Hong needs from me in the future, just feel free to say it. I, Lin Dong, will never excuse myself as long as I can do it. That's more like it. Lin Dong, if you do not wish to join the Heavenly Star Mansion, if you encounter any trouble in the Star Void realm, you can come to the 7-colored glazed sect to look for me, or you can contact me directly, as long as it does not involve a Sage Realm powerhouse. I, Bailey Yanhong, still have some face. Good. Since Sister Hong has said so, then I might have to trouble you in the future. Lin Dong said with a smile. Right, Lin Dong, there is one more thing that I forgot to tell you. Bailey Yanhong suddenly said. What is it? Coming out from Earth with you guys to mess with Morong Chinga. Originally I wanted to accept her as a disciple, but due to certain reasons, she was taken under my master's tutelage, and is now my senior sister, and has now followed my master and left. What? Morong Chinga has become your senior sister? Lin Dong asked in shock. She did not expect this woman, Morong Chinga, to have such a good life. Just after coming to the Star Void realm, she was taken under the tutelage of a sage realm. This was simply a case of a crow's nest turning into a phoenix and ascending to heaven in a single step. She's not just my senior sister now. Master said that the 4 great supreme elders of the 7-colored glazed sect are going to accept her as a disciple at the same time and teach her together. In the future, Morong Chinga's status in the 7-colored glazed sect will be second only to the 4 great supreme elders, and even the patriarch will have to defer to her for 3 points. So bullish? Lin Dong's eyes widened in disbelief. He was still familiar with this Morong Chinga woman. The Morong family was considered a second-rate family in Kyoto. She, on the other hand, was brought into the hidden sect Kunlun as a child. Later, with the emergence of the hidden sect, the Morong family followed suit. Lin Dong and Morong Chinga had met a few times. In his mind, this was a woman who relied on the outside to attract attention. He did not expect that after coming to this Star Void realm, she would actually leap over the Dragon Gate all of a sudden. With the 4 supreme elders teaching her, coupled with Morong Chinga's talent as well as the 7-colored glazed sect's large amount of resources tilted in her favor, it won't take long for Morong Chinga to catch up, and in the future, she is destined to become the No. 1 in the Starry Void realm. Lin Dong, you, the Lord of the Milky Way, will soon be left behind by her if you do not work hard. Lin Dong was first taken aback, but slowly came back to his senses. He somewhat scoffed at Bailey Yanhong's words. Just kidding, want to surpass me? If my brother puts in more horsepower, not to mention Morong Chinga, even your master I would not put in my eyes. Sage Realm is just a few 100,000 divine magnificence points. Spending a few 100,000 billion star yuan coins would be enough. However, Lin Dong would not say this. Moreover, how to spend these several 100,000 billion star yuan coins without attracting anyone's attention and quietly, he had yet to plan it out. Don't worry, Sister Hong. I will work hard. Lin Dong, you guys belong to the same Earthlings. When you join the 7-colored glazed sect, if you have the opportunity, you can let your little girlfriends get in touch with Morong Chinga more often, and make a good relationship, which will definitely be beneficial to you guys in the future. I will tell them. Lin Dong said perfunctorily. This Morong Chinga woman was a high and cold type at first glance. For him to ask Yun Shi and the others to lower their voices to flatter Morong Chinga? It was simply impossible. Besides, did the people around him, Lin Dong, need to flatter anyone? It was more like others to flatter those around him. Bailey Yanhong could see Lin Dong's disdain as well as his perfunctory behavior. Thinking that Lin Dong was still unable to let go of his Galaxy Lord's face, thinking about it, it was also true. Lin Dong was able to become the first person to break through the Eternal Realm in the Galaxy. It was estimated that he had already ruled the Galaxy for a very long time. Now he was asked to flatter a woman who was once inconspicuous. It was definitely unacceptable in his heart for a while. Actually, Bailey Yanhong was also a little curious. Lin Dong and Morong Chinga both lived on Earth, and the two of them even knew each other. Morong Chinga's figure and appearance were both top-notch, and she also possessed a seductive body that was capable of arousing male desire. Why had Lin Dong not taken her in? Among those girlfriends of his, only Huangfu Siye could be compared to Morong Chinga. The others were all that much worse. However, it was fortunate that Lin Dong had confiscated it. Otherwise, the consequences would not be easy to say. Morong Chinga's charmed body being broken was a small matter. Whether Lin Dong could withstand the suction of the charmed body was a big matter. Perhaps he would be sucked dry directly. It was also unknown which one of the two of them had the luck against the heavens. Both of them were living on the same tiny planet, and their respective conditions were top-notch, but on the contrary, the effect of opposites attracting was not formed. Alright then. You also go back and have a good rest. Soon you will be arriving at the seven-colored glazed sect. You should also consider how to go about your next path, whether to join the Heavenly Star Mansion or to break in on your own. Sister Hong. I'm a person who is accustomed to freedom, and don't want to join the Heavenly Star Mansion to be constrained. I want to break through on my own first, and then join the Heavenly Star Mansion if I really can't. What do you think? I knew you wouldn't be willing to join the Heavenly Star Mansion just like that, to be able to become the first eternal realm in the galaxy. Naturally you wouldn't be willing to be a fence-sitter, but Lin Dong, I still have to tell you, it's very, very difficult to try to break out on your own in the Starry Void realm. I know, Sister Hong, but I still decided to give it a try on my own. Since you have already decided, then I will not persuade you anymore. Still, if you encounter any troubles that cannot be resolved in the Star Void realm, you can contact me, and I will try my best to help you out if I can. With a grateful heart, Lin Dong bid farewell to Bailey Yanhong. The giant tortoise continued in the four-dimensional space, heading in the direction of the seven-colored glazed sect chapter 807, seven-colored continent. Time slowly passed. Not long after, Lin Dong's room door was knocked on. Knock knock knock. He got up and opened the door. Standing outside the door was Qin Jingzihan. Lin Dong was just about to open his mouth to ask the other party what was the matter. Qin Jingzihan then jumped the gun and said, Brother Lin, I will be returning to the Heavenly Star Mansion soon. Do you think that if you are fine, you should come back with me? I will take you around the Heavenly Star continent and properly introduce you to our Heavenly Star Mansion, so that you know that joining us is definitely the best choice for you. It dawned on Lin Dong in his heart. It turned out that Chen Jingzihan was returning to the Heavenly Star Mansion. He had heard Bailey Yanhong mention it before. However, Lin Dong did not intend to join the Heavenly Star Mansion at the moment, and naturally, he would not go to any Heavenly Star continent. Brother Chen, I have to follow Sister Hong to the seven-colored glazed sect first and settle Yan Shi and the others before I can rest assured, so you can go back first. I'll come back for you later. Like this. That's fine. After you watch your little lovers join the seven-colored glazed sect, come back to the Heavenly Star continent to find me. I'll be waiting for you. Chen Jingzihan also felt that it was clearly impossible to make Lin Dong leave with him at this time. Good. I will contact you again if I come at that time. Can. Brother Lin, you must come, don't stand me up. Brother Chen, don't worry. Regardless of whether we join the Heavenly Star Mansion or not, we are also considered brothers who have experienced life and death, and our feelings will not change. Hearing you say that, I'm relieved. Then Brother Lin, I'll go back first and wait for you at the Heavenly Star Mansion. Take care, Brother Chen, have a safe journey. Chen Jingzihan brought his 4 attendants and parted ways with the giant tortoise to head to the Tianxing continent. On the other hand, Lin Dong and the others continued to head towards the seven-colored continent. On this day, Lin Dong and the others were resting. Bailey Yanhong's voice suddenly rang out. Everyone come out. We have arrived at the place. Upon hearing this, Lin Dong, Yun Shi and the others immediately walked out of the room and arrived outside the luxurious building. What met their eyes was no longer the pitch blackness of the four-dimensional space, and above their heads was a blue sky. With this environment, it was obvious that they had returned to the three-dimensional space. Bailey Yanhong was currently standing in front waiting for everyone. The crowd walked behind Bailey Yanhong. Then with a wave of Bailey Yanhong's hand, the giant tortoise under her feet disappeared and turned into a small tortoise, which was put into Bailey Yanhong's sleeve. Lin Dong and the others were then held by a force and suspended in the air. The disappearance of the giant turtle. It also allowed Lin Dong and the others to see the scene beneath their feet clearly. Except for Bailey Yanhong, everyone stared with wide eyes, their hearts shocked beyond measure. Only to see that underneath the feet of the crowd was a giant continent, emitting a seven-colored halo of light and just floating silently in the void. Looking down from the height they were at, the edge of the continent could barely be seen. This was the first time Lin Dong and the others had seen a place that existed in the form of a continent. Previously, regardless of whether it was in the solar system where the Earth was located, the Milky Way galaxy, or the Beast galaxy, all that they had seen were various planets of various sizes. This kind of giant continent was something that they had never seen before. New things were always curious. After the shock, the women, Yun Shi and Huangfu Shiyu, all revealed excited expressions. With such a beautiful scenery, it was expected that every woman would like it. Yun Shi and the girls were naturally no exception. This is the seven-colored continent where my seven-colored glazed sect is located, how is it? Not bad. Bailey Yanhong looked at the seven-colored continent under her feet and said in a somewhat proud tone. To be able to own a continent in the Star Void realm. This was the dream of every power. However, the ones that could be realized were few and far between. Every power that owned a continent in the Star Void realm belonged to a small part of the top of the pyramid. The seven-colored glazed sect happened to belong to one of them. Bailey Yanhong had lived on the seven-colored continent since she was a child, and for this continent, she was incomparably familiar with it while at the same time having deep feelings. Sister Hong, this place is so beautiful, will we live here in the future? Lu Xiaoxiao asked happily. Aha! In the future, you will be living on this continent, as long as you join the seven-colored glazed sect and wear the seven-colored glazed sect's exclusive clothes like me. There won't be anyone who dares to bully you on this continent, and on this continent, the seven-colored glazed sect has absolute authority. Only then did the crowd notice. The clothes Bailey Yanhong was wearing at the moment were a little different from the past. Although it was all red. But in the past, what she wore was usually a tight long dress. Now it was a loose power suit, and the color was much lighter. On the chest, there was also a large red character. This was the exclusive clothes of the seven-colored glazed sect's disciples. However, Bailey Yanhong was an elder of the seven-colored glazed sect and the head of the previous seven holy maidens. Her clothes were not the same as the other disciples. And from the color of the clothing, one could distinguish the status of the seven-colored glazed sect disciples. Ordinary disciples were white. Core disciples were brown. The pro-disciples were black. The rest of the mid-level management were all ruddy. It was just that the ruddy color was also divided into grades. One could tell by looking at the symbol on the chest. 1 bar was a first-level deacon. 2 bars are second-level deacons. 3 bars is a third-level deacon. The pattern on the chest of a deacon further up is different again. Other than that, each term's 7 holy maidens wore clothes that matched their own colors. For example, Bailey Yanhong was the last 7 holy maidens in the aftermath, and the color she represented was red. Then her clothes were red this term. If Morong Qingda became the head of the 7 holy maidens, then the clothes she wore would be the same as Bailey Yanhong. Each color of red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, and purple represented a 7 holy maiden. However, in cases like Qin Jing Zihan's mother, although she was once one of the 7 holy maidens, she was now married. It was no longer allowed to wear the 7-colored glazed sect's disciples' only clothing. Great! In the future, we'll be living on this beautiful continent. Lu Xiaoxiao cheered. The other women also revealed delighted expressions respectively. Being able to live in such a beautiful place. It would at least make their sadness of leaving home a little less. You guys shouldn't be too relaxed. The 7-colored glazed sect, as the only large-scale power on the 7-colored continent, is the dream of all the women on this continent. They all take pride in entering the 7-colored glazed sect. Therefore, the competition within the sect is very fierce. Cultivation is like rowing a boat against the current. If you don't advance, you'll be overtaken by someone else. You guys have crossed the endless distance, and you've come here, but you're learning the skills not to swim in the mountains and play in the water. Bailey Yanhong's tone was not heavy, but her words caused the delighted expressions on everyone's faces to stiffen. Lu Xiaoxiao's smile was also immediately put away, lowering her head and not daring to look at Bailey Yanhong. She was the youngest. She was the youngest, and had always been treated as the jewel of the Lu family. She had never suffered any wrongdoing in her life until now. A group of people were silent. Bailey Yanhong's prestige in their hearts was still very high. Chapter 808, head of the new 7 holy maidens. Lin Dong just wanted to open his mouth to say something at this time. Someone spoke first. Sister Hong, don't worry. We will definitely work hard on our cultivation and not disgrace you. Xiaoxiao, she is still young and childish, so please be more tolerant and do not be generalized with her. The one who spoke was none other than Huangfu Shiyu. As the one with the best talent amongst this group of women, and the one who was favored by Bailey Yanhong, she felt the need to come forward. Huangfu Shiyu's words had just finished. Yun Shi and the others also followed to plead for mercy. Yes. Sister Hong, Xiaoxiao is still young, I hope you won't get on her bad side. Lin Dong's heart was also more than pleased when he saw that everyone had come forward to speak in favor of Lu Xiaoxiao. The relationship between this group of people right now was simply more intimate than that of close sisters, just like a big family. Lu Xiaoxiao also bravely raised her head at this time and said, Sister Hong, I'm sorry, I was too excited, don't worry. I will definitely work hard. Don't misunderstand everyone, I don't mean to blame you, I just want to give you a reminder, although the competition in the 7-colored glazed sect is fierce, this platform is also very high, you have this opportunity, you have to learn your skills, don't let Lin Dong be super-centered for you out there, as he is in the astral void realm. He is facing even more fierce competition, and if you are a little bit careless, you may die in the Tao. Bailey Yan Hong said calmly. We know, thank you Sister Hong for giving us this opportunity, we will definitely not fail you. Let's go. Let's return to the 7-colored glazed sect. Bailey Yan Hong took the lead and flew towards the 7-colored glazed sect. Other than Lin Dong, everyone else followed behind Bailey Yan Hong under the pull of a force. The gravitational force possessed by the planets and continents within the star void realm was completely different from that of Earth. On Earth, as long as one had the strength of a half-step god ranking level, one could break free from the gravitational pull of Earth and fly into the air. But it was different in the star void realm. The gravitational pull of the planets and continents here were both too much greater than Earth. If one was on the planet, one would need a minimum strength of the star realm to break free of the planet's gravity and fly high into the air. And on the continent, the gravitational force was even stronger, requiring the strength of the cosmic realm to fly. This was also the reason why countless forces wanted to own a continent. As long as one lives on it. Due to the powerful gravitational force. Even walking, eating, sleeping, and even breathing in general was a cultivation. People who lived on the continent and went to other planets, it was an innate sense of superiority. Their strength was also generally much higher than the people on the planet. It was like the feeling of superiority that people from Kyoto, China, had when they went to a small county on Earth. Therefore, Huangfu Shiyu and these women, if they did not have the help of Bailey Yan Hong, would have already been pulled by the powerful gravitational pull of the 7-colored continent and fallen the moment the giant tortoise disappeared. As an eternal realm powerhouse, Lin Dong was not considered weak no matter where he was. Therefore, he could be completely unaffected by the gravitational pull of the 7-colored continent and did not need Bailey Yan Hong's help. The group was led by Bailey Yan Hong and headed straight to where the mountain gate of the 7-colored glazed sect was located. Since the 7-colored glazed sect was shrouded under a huge formation. Looking down on the entire 7-colored glazed sect from high in the air, one could only see mountains rising up and clouds surrounding them. The true appearance of the 7-colored glazed sect could not be seen clearly at all. It was naturally impossible for a powerful sect to allow one to see it in its entirety from the air. Soon, Bailey Yan Hong brought Lin Dong and the others and landed in front of the 7-colored glazed sect's 7-colored gate. As soon as the crowd landed, the two women who were guarding the gate immediately stepped forward and knelt down on one knee, respectfully shouting, "Greetings to Elder Red, welcome Elder Red back in triumph and raise the prestige of our sect." Be excused. Bailey Yan Hong said expressionlessly. Thank you Elder Hong. The two disciples guarding the mountain gate stood up and stood on either side. You guys follow me into the sect. Bailey Yan Hong threw down a sentence before taking the lead and walking towards the inside of the 7-colored gate. Lin Dong, Yun Shi, and the others then quickly followed. After entering the 7-colored glazed sect, immediately, a middle-aged woman wearing a red-colored dress with 3 bars on her chest greeted her. This was the 3rd-level deacon of the 7-colored glazed sect. It was also the middle level of management. As long as one took one step forward, one would be able to enter the higher echelons of the sect. See Elder Red. After the middle-aged woman arrived, she also respectfully saluted Bailey Yan Hong. Exempt yourself from saluting. Bailey Yan Hong said, still expressionless. Thank you Elder Red. Elder Red, please move to the sect's council hall, the patriarch is already waiting for you. Good. I know, you received this man behind me, with the highest specification of the sect, there must not be the slightest bit of negligence. Bailey Yan Hong said. She was naturally referring to Lin Dong. There was also only one man here, Lin Dong. Yes. Elder Hong. The middle-aged woman said respectfully. At the same time, she also turned her curious gaze towards Lin Dong. There were not many people who could make the 7-colored glazed sect receive them with the highest specifications. What exactly was the identity of this young man? Bailey Yan Hong then turned to look at Lin Dong and said, Lin Dong, you should go and take a rest first. I will come back for you when I am done. Alright, Sister Hong, you go ahead and get busy. No need to mind me. Lin Dong said indifferently. Bailey Yanhong looked at Yun Shi and the others again. You guys come with me to meet the patriarch and put the matter of joining the seven-colored glazed sect in place first. Yes, Sister Hong. The crowd said at the same time. Bailey Yanhong turned around and walked towards the council hall. Yun Shi and the girls followed closely behind her. The middle-aged woman swept over Yun Shi and these women in her heart. She thought that these women were all in very good condition, she just didn't know how talented they were, and whether they could possibly become the seven holy maidens. Especially Huangfu Shiyu. At a glance, she was the billet of the seven holy maidens. Now there was only one last position left for the clan's seven holy maidens. Originally, there were two more. As a result, not long ago, suddenly came a Morong Chinga, directly became the head of the seven holy maidens. This caused countless people to be surprised. After the news spread out, not to mention within the seven-colored glazed sect, even the entire seven-colored continent, and even the Star Void realm, were all speculating about what kind of person this Morong Chinga was. She was actually able to become the head of the seven holy maidens. The news that came out next was even more shocking to countless people. The four supreme elders were actually going to accept Morong Chinga as their disciple at the same time, and the ceremony would be held soon. The sect had already sent people out to send out invitations. That meant that she would be taught by the four supreme elders. This was something that had never happened before in the seven-colored glazed sect. Not even Elder Hong had such treatment. She was also only worshipping a single supreme elder as her teacher. Everyone felt that the reason why this Morong Chinga had such treatment must be because of her talent, which was even stronger than Elder Hong. Otherwise, how could it be possible to have four supreme elders come out to accept disciples at the same time? Elder Hong wasn't even 2,000 years old yet, and he was already a supreme-level powerhouse. Transcending the eternal realm was just around the corner. It was unknown how much time this new head of the seven holy maidens would take to reach Elder Red's ground. 1,500 years? Or 1,000 years? Chapter 809, The Treatment of an Honored Guest. After seeing Bailey Yanhong off, only then did the middle-aged female deaconess turn her head and said to Lin Dong, Mr. Lin, please follow me. Trouble this big sister. Lin Dong politely returned. Don't say that, Mr. Lin, this is all what I should do, and don't call me big sister, I can't afford it. The middle-aged female deaconess immediately said nervously. Just now, she had heard Lin Dong call Elder Hong Sister Hong. Now calling her big sister. Then wouldn't she be in the same generation as Elder Red? Elder Hong was the head of the previous seven holy maidens of the seven-colored glazed sect and was now serving as a sect elder. Her strength had reached the eternal realm supreme level. And she was merely a mere third-level deacon. The difference in status between the two was not half a star. If she was heard by someone with a heart, then she would be doomed. Seeing that the other party was so nervous, Lin Dong did not continue to address her in such a manner. He knew that in these large forces, the hierarchical levels were very strictly delineated and could not be exceeded in the slightest. The middle-aged female deaconess led the way ahead while Lin Dong followed behind. The two quickly arrived at the VIP area where the seven-colored glazed sect received their distinguished guests. Lin Dong was arranged to sit in the hall. Mr. Lin, you can rest here for a few moments first, and soon there will be programs specially prepared by the sect for you as well as delicacies presented for your enjoyment and enjoyment. The middle-aged female deaconess said politely. That. I don't need these, just find me a separate room at random. Lin Dong refused. This seven-colored glazed sect had prepared programs and delicacies that he had not seen before. However, these were not attractive to Lin Dong. There was no need to mention the program, he was simply not interested in enjoying it at the moment. His mind was full of thoughts on how to open up a situation in the Star Void realm. As for the cuisine, Eternal Realm powerhouses could provide a constant supply of life force on their own. Even if they didn't eat or drink for the rest of their lives, they wouldn't feel hungry. Mr. Lin, I think this is the first time you've come to my seven-colored glazed sect as a guest, and you've been in seclusion before. Not bad. It is indeed my first time here and I have been in seclusion before. Lin Dong did not tell the truth but replied along with the other party's words. He could not say that this is the first time I have come to the Star Void realm and I do not know everything about the Star Void realm and the seven-colored glazed sect, could he? No wonder you refused. The middle-aged female deaconess came to a realization. Her words also managed to arouse Lin Dong's curiosity. Oh? What do you mean by these words? Could it be that there is something more to say here? Lin Dong asked curiously. Mr. Lin, the service of our 7-colored glazed sex VIP area is very famous in the Star Void realm. It is absolutely second to none. Countless men would like to come and experience it, but unfortunately, the vast majority of them do not have the qualifications to do so. And why is that? Lin Dong came to be interested. Because the one who performs the program is my clan's 7 immortal daughters. The 7 of them are specially trained by my clan to serve the VIP area's VIP guests. Even within my 7-colored glazed sect, they are also the most outstanding women in all aspects of the comprehensive conditions, but unfortunately, they are just lacking in talent. They can only become 7 immortal daughters but not 7 holy daughters. There is only a difference of 1 word between the two, but their statuses are sky high, and the difference between my 7-colored glazed sect woman's standard represents the standard of the entire Star Void realm. So what? Lin Dong asked doubtfully. This stumped the middle-aged female deaconess. She looked at Lin Dong incredulously. Having stated it so clearly, was Lin Dong pretending not to understand, or did he really not understand? Or had he gone out of his mind after being in seclusion for a long time? However, the middle-aged female deaconess continued to patiently explain. Mr. Lin, in other words, the 7 immortals of my 7-colored glazed sect represent the highest caliber of women in the entire Star Void realm, and they are only nearly as gifted as the 7 holy maidens, and as the saying goes, a fair lady, a gentleman's good deeds. Wouldn't you want to appreciate them, Mr. Lin? This is the dream of countless men in the Star Void realm. Lin Dong finally understood. These 7 immortals were the 7-colored glazed sect, which selected the most outstanding few from all the less talented women in the Star Void realm. They were then cultivated to specifically serve the noble guests who came to the 7-colored glazed sect. As for what program to perform, it's just singing and dancing. What else is there? To put it bluntly, these 7 fairies are the very famous singing and dancing girls in ancient China. They are beautiful, have good bodies, and can sing and dance well. It seems that the saying that a hero is never happy with a beautiful woman is practical no matter where you are. Even in a high-level civilization like the Star Void realm, there was no exception. It was just that Lin Dong really did not have much interest in this aspect. Forget about enjoying the program, you should still find me a room. I'm not really a fan of this aspect. Lin Dong said without the slightest interest. This. The middle-aged female deaconess looked at Lin Dong and felt pity in her heart. Such a young, handsome and energetic young man was actually not interested in women? It couldn't be that he was still a fledgling and hadn't come into contact with women, right? This kind of situation was not unheard of in the Star Void realm. Some of the direct descendants of great powers who were detected to be exceptionally gifted from a young age would be forced to go into seclusion and could only come out after meeting the requirements. Therefore, they might have lived for hundreds or even thousands of years without ever touching a woman. Lin Dong was most likely in this situation. After all, there were not many people who could be so young and be valued so highly by Elder Hong. Mr. Lin, don't be in a hurry to reject it first. Apart from the performance of the 7 immortals, the food that will be sent up soon is also one of the best of my 7-colored glazed sect. Some of them are edible plants that have been specially cultivated, some of them are the desolate beasts that the sect's hunting team has hunted in the desolate realm, and even eternal realm powerhouses will have a great deal of benefits to their bodies after consuming them. The middle-aged female deaconess spoke as she kept her gaze fixed on Lin Dong. Lin Dong had originally wanted to refuse. Although the other party said that it was beneficial to all eternal realm after consumption, he really did not need it. Right now, all Lin Dong wanted was how to spend his money to obtain divine magnificence points. Everything else that was useful to the eternal realm was of little or no use to him. There was no need to waste his energy on it. However, upon seeing the middle-aged woman staring at him, Lin Dong changed his mind. What he wanted nowadays was to keep a low profile, to obliterate the crowd. Instead of being a maverick. This would inevitably attract attention. Alright. Then I will appreciate whether this so-called 7 immortals and cuisine of your 7-colored glazed sect is as rumored or not. Lin Dong's sudden change of mind had caused the middle-aged female deaconess to be somewhat surprised. Originally, she had some more words to say, but it turned out that they were all useless. Now, she could not guess whether this Lin Dong was truly polite or not. Alright. Please wait a moment, Mr. Lin, I will immediately go down and make arrangements. The middle-aged woman left after saying this. Lin Dong, on the other hand, continued to sit in the VIP hall and waited for the seven immortals' performance in food.